an AGM. We do the payoff is a little bit of the boring stuff beforehand. Talk about be seen and heard up onto the stage, and so you can hear directly from them. And everybody give a massive round of applause to everybody we mentioned tonight, because there are some incredible heroes we're going to go through, people who've really sacrificed time, effort, and endeavour to get this football club to where it is now, with a chance of having a future again. So hopefully a really great event. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. Hopefully really useful, entertaining, interesting. We do have to do a bit of housekeeping, so I'm going to pass over to Jake Lee, who's going to do his best air stewardess impression and tell you where the fire exits are and the like. So Jake, over to you.
Hi guys. It's a tough act to follow sometimes, James. But yeah, it's a pretty quick one, this. If you do need the toilet, or the bog as we call it, there. And if there's a fire, run quick. That way, I mean walk, and then over the South Stand Bridge. So yeah, as James said, it should be an unbelievable night tonight. And we've got our football club back. I genuinely believe that. There's been some tough times for everybody, fans, you know, staff of the club. Wow, them guys really pulled together to get us to where we are. So I don't want to waffle on too much, because as James said, you didn't come here to listen to us really. But there are some important stories to tell, and the biggest thing out of everything I've got to say is, you know, we have got our club back, and it's going to be amazing. So I'll pass you over to Steve Chu now.
Thanks, Jake. So, yeah, I'm Steve. I'm the Secretary of the Trust, so I've got the job of quickly taking you through the annual report and accounts, which I'll do as quickly as possible to get you onto more interesting stuff. I'm blinded. So the annual report and accounts have been on our website, together with the independent examiner's report, which passes the accounts as a clean bill of health. But it is important that we go through them quickly tonight, because the Trust in 2024 to 25 had an annual income of just under £3,000. Our annual income this year, just gone, was £160,000. So we need to account to you as members for what we've done with your money and how we spent it. First of all, I want to recognise some people who need thanking for their contributions through the year. On this slide are the list of people who served on the Trust Board during 2025 to 26. Those on the right-hand side are current Trust directors. Those on the left-hand side are others who served on the Trust Board through the year. Not one of those people did any of that for any glory. It's been really hard work for all of us. I think, you know, at various times in the year, many of us have been up doing Trust business as volunteers for a couple of hours before we've gone to work, come home from work, a few more hours Trust business in the evening, sometimes stealing hours in the day when we should be doing paid work to do Trust business. So many of those people have given much longer service to the Trust than me. Many of those people did a lot more than me, but what I would say is that I've been proud to stand alongside them over the course of the year, and I hope we can recognise all of their contributions through the year. Some other people who need thanking. We currently have 2,013 paid members. That's 5 times more than this time last year. We had 406 paid members this time last year. We also have a very small, so this isn't known very much, we have a very small number of regular donors who do a monthly direct debit to the Trust to help fund Trust activities, so thank you to them. Thank you to everyone here and watching online who contributed to the crowdfunding campaigns, which I'll go through later, not only the Trusts, but I know some were run by House Talk, fundraising by other supporters groups, which really helped the club in their hour of need. We've got thousands of associate members, dozens of volunteers without whom none of the protests could have happened this year. They did absolutely sterling work. Thank you very much to them, and also to the wider fan base. You here, everyone else connected with Sheffield Wednesday who sacrificed something in many different ways, whether it was staying away from games, boycotting spending in the stadium, not buying their kids official merchandise. I think sitting here and looking back, it seems obvious that people were going to go in late to Leicester away, that people weren't going to turn up for the Leeds game at home, that people weren't going to turn up for Middlesbrough. Sitting here looking back, that seems obvious. It was not obvious at the time, and it wasn't obvious to us, like literally 15 minutes before those things happened. So thank you to everyone who contributed to a hugely successful protest, which we know what happened over the past 12 months. So the Trust, in our constitution, we have 5 objectives, so the annual report, which is on the website, details what we've done to contribute to those objectives over the past year. It just lists some of the Trust activities. So I'm just going to go through a few of them now. Just an overview of the annual accounts. So we had, as I said, 155,000 of income. There was a bit more that went straight to charity, so it was nearly 160,000 in total. Spending of 140,000, which gives us an accounting surplus of 11,000. The actual cash in the bank only increased by 5,000. The reason for that is that some things that we paid out for are going to be accounted for next year. So we paid around 77,000 into the club as part of the fundraising campaign. 20,000 of that was a partnership, which you saw in terms of the short sponsorships and other things as part of the partnership. And that was accounted for, that was a 7-month thing that was accounted for a month at a time. So 2 of those months are going to be accounted for next year. So that's why there's a discrepancy between the surplus and the cash in the bank. The other thing worth saying in terms of the accounts is you'll see about £3,000 in stock. One of the stories behind that is that the fall of Chancery happened quicker than any of us expected, including the Trust, who had just ordered a job lot of more scarves to sell, which we have in stock. So if anyone is going, summer coming up, if you go to birthday parties, weddings, anniversaries, bar mitzvahs, and you've got family members who would appreciate a job lot of Trust scarves, blue and white or yellow and black, see Jake. Just breaking down the income further, 110,000 was fundraising. As I said, there was a bit more that went straight out to charity. So broadly speaking, that breaks down as 70-odd thousand in crowdfunding online, and there was 37,500 from Wrexham Supporters Trust, which we were hugely grateful for, and gave us a load of comfort that we could just make spending decisions without having to worry about where the money was coming from, because we knew the money was there. 18,000 of membership income, 24,000 income from scarves. I think people thought we were making a killing on the scarves. We weren't. We knew we were selling them at a loss because We were selling them for £5. They cost us about £5.10. But the most important thing for us was to get them out there and get that visual statement out there, which we did. And the spending, so we made that £57,000 donation straight to the club as soon as we went into administration. There's that partnership of 20,000, 3,258 to Sheffield Children's Hospital, 11,000 in protest expenses. So that's things like the projector before the Middlesbrough game, the fly pass before the Leicester game, leaflets, etc. Huge word of praise for the protests to Jake and Otto, especially, and Ian. Massive amount of work and effort went into those protests, and really well organised. The 35,000 is the cost of the scarves. You saw on the previous slide we made 25,000, so there's a gap there if you've got to go to any birthday parties, etc. The legal fees, so there's a story behind that. We've not spent all that legal fees money, that's a provision. You know some of the activities that the Trust did over the past year. One of the things that isn't really known is that there was a huge amount of pressure on us at various times in the year to have an option to buy the club out of administration. We never wanted to do it, we never thought we were the right people to own the club, but we were being told we had to have that option to make sure that the club couldn't be liquidated. So we did spend a huge amount of time. Rob, who's there, and Martin Cade spent a huge amount of time last summer looking at all the legal side of how we could actually own the club. I did some potential fundraising in the background in case we ever needed it. And Mark did a huge amount of work preparing the business plan for how we would actually run the club in League One next season if we had to. Like I say, we never wanted to do it. We're really glad we didn't have to. David's here. I hope the player wage budget for next year that you actually got is more than the one that was in our business plan, because it wasn't looking very good. And then onto the stuff that we really want to get onto as a trust, and this is stuff that we did do in the background. We spent a huge amount of time getting the previous owner out and doing other stuff, but we did a lot of good stuff in the background as well. So you know that we made some hardship grants available to Wednesday staff who weren't getting paid through last summer. So there's a provision in the accounts for that. We didn't spend it all, not going to disclose what we actually did pay out or how many people to, but we did make some hardship grants to staff. We've paid for some repairs to the Hillsborough Memorial at the bottom of Worsley Lane because that was falling into disrepair. The Rainbow Owls needed t-shirts paid for. They've had those funded in the past before the LGBT game, but that funding fell through this year, so we paid for them. As part of the commercial package with the club, through James, we secured 11 mascot packages which we distributed to underprivileged children who would never ever have had the opportunity to be a club mascot if it wasn't for that. We also got 50,000 free tickets which were distributed through other supporters groups, the Armed Forces Owls, the Women's Supporters Groups, Soda, Rainbow Owls, and one more which I've forgotten, apologies. So we distributed those. We represented fans on the Safety Advisory Group. So Mark and Ian were part of the Safety Advisory Group, representing fans in terms of our concerns over the state of the stadium, particularly around the North Stand. And particularly over the last few months, we've set up a community subgroup, Paul, who's going to talk a bit about that, and a youth forum as well, which has started to do some really good activity and the sort of stuff we want to be doing in the future. Right, I'm quickly going to whistle through, so I need some votes in favour, and there's more than that. I've been given a longer list. So the minutes for last year's AGM have been on the Trust website over the past week or so. Can I just have votes in favour of approving those minutes from last year, please? Thank you. I think that's a majority. Then we need to approve the annual accounts, which I've just been through. Can I have votes in favour of that, please? Great, thank you. I'll run through these. So I need authorisation not to undertake a full professional audit for next year's accounts. Can I hands up for that, please? And also keep them up for approving the annual report. Right. Okay, I think that's all the hands I need. Lastly, as you know, we ran elections to the board over the past 2 or 3 weeks. We were really pleased to have 8 excellent candidates put themselves forward. You'll have seen the candidate statements they put out. Any one of them would have been great additions to the board. One of the things that we'd said and we've reflected on over the past week is that we recognise that everyone who's speaking in front of you today is a white male. So we were really glad to have some female candidates putting themselves forward to the board. They were the 8 candidates and they were the 3 people elected to the board. So congratulations to Rich, Liv and Catherine, and thank you to all the other 5 candidates. We have got plans for you to stay involved in the trust over the year, so thank you very much for that. That, I think, is me done. So Paul's just going to give you a flavour of the community activity.
Evening, everybody. I'm Paul. I'm the community lead for the Trust. I think it's very important to the Trust and for everybody here, I think, to understand the importance of Wednesday and Hillsborough to the local community, to the Sheffield community, to the wider community. It's one of a number of things that haven't really had any traction over recent years, but it became very apparent listening to the words of the new owners that they get community, they get how important community is. So it felt to us that it was the right time to try and bring a group together to start thinking about some things that we could perhaps put in front of the owners, in front of the chief exec, with some that we can try and crystallise some of the thoughts that we got around how we can more closely embed the club in the local community. So we formed a subgroup, which is fantastic. We've got about 13, 14 people on it. Anybody who's in the subgroup, put your hand up. So you can see there's a few people around and about to speak with. And as a group, we've developed a number of themes that we're then trying to refine. Some of them will obviously need support from the club. Some of them are straightforward, including, for example, a litter picking group. We've actually done some litter picking tonight before we got here. Maureen's about. Where's Maureen? Yeah, Maureen, who was also one of the candidates that some of you may have voted for. Maureen has already had 2 litter picks done since we formed the group, so that's the sort of one end of it. We obviously, as a group, we work very closely with the club's own community programme. Matt Pierre over there, last hand up. Matt's on the group, and obviously we're very tied into the work that the community programme are doing. But what we also want to do is to tie into other supporters groups around some of the things that we want to move forward. Colleagues from SODA, all the stuff around improving the experience for disabled supporters. So we want to sort of reach out and do some work around that. We want to reach out to the Women's Supporters Group around things like bringing in more students, more kids from schools, getting a better relationship with the Sheffield Ladies Club. And also we've got members who want to work with Armed Forces Health about improving the experience for current and former people who are serving. So all of those things, and then we've got some other ideas. I'll share a few of them with you very quickly. One that I know a lot of people have spoken about is how we can try and get tickets that can be passed on to people who aren't able to get their own tickets. So we're going to try and work with that. Obviously the club may have some ideas as well, and I think we can all work together to make that more of a reality. A big one really is thinking in terms of how Hillsborough can act as a sort of health and wellbeing hub for all the local communities. and try and draw people into Hillsborough as a way of helping to improve health and well-being all around the locality. We want to try and get more ethnic minority supporters into the club. Again, supporters group is hopefully in the process of being formed. But again, we want to make Hillsborough a welcoming place for everybody, where everybody feels they want to come and want to be. And as I mentioned, we've also got the litter picking initiative, which is also underway. So you can see we've got a lot of stuff going on. Probably one of the key things I want to say to everybody is let us know your ideas. You can use the trust email or grab one of us tonight and let us know any ideas you've got for how we can do more to properly embed Wednesday back as that centre of the community. One last thing before I shut up. Those who came to the last AGM will remember we said we were going to get Shay O'Grady as our youth ambassador, if you remember that. And that's happened. And Shay is fantastic. I mean, everybody knows Shay. People know the fantastic work Shay's done for many years, fundraising. Shay is fantastic as our youth ambassador. He was going to come along and have a chat to everybody tonight, but he's right in the middle of his GCSEs, so I think everybody perhaps can remember that feeling. So I think he's got all that going on. But I know he'll be watching us online, I think, Shay anyway. And what Shay's been leading on is trying to pull together a youth forum so we can actually be speaking to young people about what it is that would help to draw them back into the club. In fairness, I think there's a fair bit gone on in the last month that probably will help to draw young people back into the club. But we wanted to speak for young people and hear directly from them what will bring them in, what will bring people back. Where kids are at school and thinking, which one of those teams will I support? Making sure that they get the right one, all that sort of stuff. So we've had one youth forum. We're looking to have another. We're hoping we may be able to have a youth forum here, which will bring a lot of people in. But I know the club are very keen to think in terms of a youth forum here, so we might be able to combine the two going forward. So there's a lot going on, but please come and talk to us and let us know your thoughts and even some of the stuff we've said about that will work because or that may not work because just come and talk to us. Okay, thanks very much. I'll pass it to
Evening everybody, I'm Mark Johnson, I'm a member of the Wednesday Supporters Trust, I'm a board member. We're going to recognise some people who've done some special work for us with a few awards. We've got some books for people that we're going to give to them. I'm not sure if they're in the accounts or not at the moment, but James and Jake will sign them afterwards if you need them. But just to say that it's incredible actually how much, I'm doing this on my phone by the way because I saw David Storch do it. So. World-class Wi-Fi. So it's actually incredible how many Wednesday fans have been involved in some of the specialised things that have happened. Obviously we know that from the administration that we went into, obviously Kris has been involved and is a massive Wednesday fan. We were lucky enough, we haven't always been a lucky fan base, but we were lucky enough to have Clive Betts, a Wednesday fan as the MP, who's one of the biggest hitters in the government with regard to regulation, so we've been lucky in that way. We've had some wonderful staff working who've done an amazing job at Hillsborough, and we need to recognise the privation, the way they delivered under that. So they've done a fantastic job as well. Absolutely incredible. We've also had some amazing journalism and some support, both on a national level, where Henry Winter was an early supporter of us, the amazing X-Times journalist. People like Alan Biggs, Dom House, and I think Dom's got a book out. I don't know if anybody knows it. No problem. Sign copy later, please. And we've also had a couple of journalists working for us who are Wednesday fans, or at least adopted Wednesday fans. We wanted to recognise them by giving them a little token of what they've done, and that is Rob Staten and Alex Miller, who just come forward. first met Alex actually at just outside Crucible in front of having a coffee just before this protest. So it seems like about 15 years ago, and it's actually about 15 months. So we've got other people who are going to come up and pass a few awards through as well. So we've got Dr. Rob Brooks coming up at the moment. For anybody that doesn't know Dr. Rob Brooks, he's loved by the EFL because he was the one who's made their life an absolute misery. So we're going to Dr. Rob Brooks.
Thank you, Mark, for that kind introduction. I'm really delighted to be here today to introduce somebody who you're probably not aware of, somebody who's worked tirelessly with us in the Trust. I'm the research director of the Trust, so I've done a lot of the work around EFL stuff and various things. But I'm introducing somebody tonight who's been an invaluable help to us in that, is a guy called Steve Dempsey. Steve is a lawyer, and I know you all love lawyers. Steve was introduced to us in the very early days when we first had the first meeting of our MP group, Sheffield MPs. And in that meeting, we were lucky to get two of the MPs who represented Reading, who had been very, very involved in the Sell Before We Die campaign to get rid of Die Younger, who was another great owner of football clubs down in Reading. And at the time, we were introduced to Steve by somebody who'd been involved with Sell Before We Die. And they said, what you need is a great lawyer with you. And we thought, oh, that's great, but what are we going to do with a lawyer? Why do we need a lawyer? Little did we know that we did need a lawyer. And Steve's been an invaluable help to us through the last 12 months of our work. Steve helped us initially on the refunds that were thought may be necessary when the North Stand was threatened with being closed for the beginning of the season, and what fans would do to get their refunds and so on. He helped us to harass the club on trying to the unauthorised introduction of facial recognition technology in the stadium. He helped us then with the minus 15-point issue with the EFL, and even before that, presenting some very, very difficult pointed questions to the EFL about the sources of Chant Series funding and what they were doing to actually fulfil their obligations to apply their rules to an owner like Chancery. So Steve's been an invaluable guide to us all the way through. The remarkable thing about Steve is he's got no former affiliation with the club. Why he wanted to get involved in a club that is capable of getting into repeated psychodramas like Sheffield Wednesday is anybody's guess, but he did, and as a Reading supporter. So when you think of it, Steve's quite a remarkable person. He's been involved in actually getting rid of probably the two worst owners in EFL history, in Die Younger and then Dutch von Chancery. So from all of us at Sheffield Wednesday, he's been a fantastic guide. He's given of his time freely. He's worked completely pro bono. He's just been a stalwart and a complete ally to us in everything that we've done in the Trust over the last 12 months. So welcome, Steve. And
Okay, unfortunately, the next person we need to thank can't be here tonight. The person was really invaluable in a couple of different aspects. One of the stories I've told before, one of them's completely new. So the defunding campaign, which was critical to getting rid of the previous owner, he absolutely would have tried to run this club off supporters' money alone. So every pound you denied him was vital in getting us the future that we have now. That came from the finance subgroup of the Trust, which for a long while didn't actually have anyone with any financial expertise on it. So we were trying to basically do accounts analysis without the expertise, and I've done some work on that, and then got connected with this person who looked at it and basically said 10 out of 10 for effort, but 0 out of 10 for actual maths. And within 48 hours, redid it all, and that was the presentation that you saw at Woods the Bridge if you were with us about 10 months ago. So absolutely critical, because if I'd stood up with faulty maths, you'd have lost credibility in us and maybe not have, as followed us as diligently and as you did. So absolutely incredible work that this person has put into that. The second story that you don't know is that during last summer, maybe early autumn, we actually got word, probably a rumour, maybe not, that Dave von Chancellor was trying to sue us at the trust. So the person we're about to applaud rang up our insurance company and said we'd like to increase our insurance cover. And they got back to us 2 days later and said, not only are we not going to insure you, we're actually going to cancel your insurance because we've looked at your activities and we think the Sheffield Wednesday Supporters Trust are committing ideological terrorism. So for about a month, the Sheffield Wednesday Supporters Trust were in a Venn diagram with the IRA and Al-Qaeda. And again, a bit like Rob and Otto in the EFL, the pen is sometimes mightier than the sword, and Martin took great umbrage at this and complained to the financial ombudsman, and in the end they rescinded their accusation of terrorism and upped our insurance policy, so we were safe again. So a big round of applause, please, for somebody whose name you probably don't know but deserves to be recognised in everything we've achieved, and that's Martin Cade.
Right, so this next guy is a bloke that I met when I first got involved with the trust. For those of you that don't know, we're involved with a group called the 1867 Group, who got some stake. But to be fair, Rob and Jim do deserve some credit, because you can't start a fire without a spark, and them guys did set this whole movement off. They made some mistakes, and so did I, but I made contact with this particular guy who was involved in the trust at the time. We wanted to get the trust to sort of move a bit faster on protests and put a rocket up their arse. You'll heard some well-worded things tonight, but I don't do that. So yeah, we shoved a rocket right up their arse and got to protest. And one of the guys that I spoke to first, who became a friend of mine, I've been to away games with him. I've took my 7-year-old lad away with him. He became the voice of the protest, I think it's fair to say. He was on Radio Sheffield more than Rob Staten. He's a real good guy and a working class hero, in my opinion. He got us all to have a good go at this, and we all stuck together and we fought it through, and because of the work of the trust and various other people in this room, we all followed the lead at one point of this guy that I'm going to introduce now. So the guy that I'm talking about is Ian Bennett. Right, Ian, so how heavy are them banners?
I want to thank everybody who actually gave me a lift with them things. Wrexham, where we were limited to tickets, it was purely volunteers and myself that dragged them in. We got 5 of us in car and this banner on his head. I think it was unbelievable. And we took Jake's lad to Portsmouth. We stayed a weekend, we had a real good time. But yeah, we won. Unbelievable. So, but there's a few people I want to thank that obviously people have said so, but right back to Jim and Rob and Jake, who started 1867 there, and he's right, lit the fire. There were people who were on the board with me before he took off last summer, and there were 5 of us that kept it going. Tom stepped away at one point and it looked like we were going to collapse. We managed to get Mark on board, who really set it going again and added something special. Yeah, and then obviously Silverwood turned up and that was it. And he turned up down at the Crucible and spoke to me and gave me some kind words after we had 1 or 2 eruptions with other fans groups over what had happened here at the EP. And that's how it started, and then this summer it just exploded. James obviously brought a lot of skill set and a lot of people with contacts. But I try to lead what I call ordinary fans, and not only people in this room who were members. I want to thank the wider fan base for actually backing us, because at the end of the day, we took 3,000 people. We're not the full fan base to get the boycotts to work. Everybody had to buy into it. So it was a matter of getting people, the other fans groups, even people who aren't involved. And I think as we move forward with what seems to be an absolutely incredible new owner, after what we've gone through, I think we deserve it. Everybody does. I think if they can engage with the fan base like we pulled everybody together, that will work brilliant. I want to thank everybody, like I said, who got involved, volunteers, people who weren't even members of the trust at the time, helped us carry the banners in. The Leicester protests that were outside organising it, but people actually carried the banners in. I think, James, you were down there that day, and it took a lot of doing, didn't it? And possibly the most impactful protest anybody's ever done that, because of the national media coverage. Obviously later on the boycotts and everything gained advantage. But it was just brilliant. I want to thank all the people behind the scenes, Rob Brooks and his team, the financial lads that have already been mentioned. Again, couldn't be done without that information. And it just worked as a team. Pulling people together, it worked fantastically well. Again, everybody in the room, I want to thank for backing us, and thanks for that introduction, Mr. Lee. But brilliant. Thank you very much, guys. Cheers, appreciate it.
Okay, so a couple more recognitions and then we'll get on to the future. The Rob and Otto have gone from perhaps not getting the recognition they deserve to be mentioned a lot tonight. I'm going to mention them again because they've been absolutely phenomenal behind the scenes, the amount of work that they put in, writing letters to the EFL, and I've been reliably informed that their letters to the EFL were far more impactful than me being a gobshite in the media. So there you go, something to learn there. The amount of time and effort that those letters was put into is phenomenal. The research, the understanding of the regulations, getting that knowledge base to then be able to write the letters to hold people to account is quite phenomenal. One aspect of the work of the Trust that probably isn't quite as well known about is the fact that, as well as writing letters to the EFL about their regulations or their lack of them or their poorly worded regulations, was also the amount of work the Trust put into doing due diligence of potential new owners, which Rob and Otto also led. People might remember back in early summer when people actually thought the previous owner was running a sales process rather than a carnival, which it turned out to be. There was an Italian called Guadiason. Well, Rob and Otto Brooks wrote me a 50-page dossier on why he should not be the new owner of Sheffield Wednesday, whilst on holiday in Italy, as it happened. So there you go. So the amount of work they've done is incredible, and we've got letters from the Department of Culture, Media and Sport saying the quality of the work that they've put in. So just another round of applause, please, if you would, for Rob and Otto. Now, those letters perhaps might not have been read with such attention by people like the EFL and the IFR if it wasn't for the next person who opened a lot of doors for us, was indispensable in providing us with advice and expertise along the way, and has just generally been a rock, and whose recognition is warmly deserved and warmly needed in terms of the place they have in the history of Sheffield Wednesday Football Club and the amount of work that they've put in to get us to this place where we have a new ownership group and a chance of a better tomorrow. So please give a warm round of applause, and please do come up for the Right Honourable Clive Beckton.
Clive, good evening. Great to have you with us again. Clive, we tended to only talk over the last few months when there was something going wrong. So this is the second.
There's a lot of those as well.
This is the second time in a row that we've spoken when things aren't looking quite so bleak. So how does that feel, right now?
Absolutely great, and just so many wonderful friends I've met along the way. What's brought us together is a love for our club. And I remember when Chancery wrote to us as MPs and said, "What's it got to do with you?" I thought, "Hell, what's it got to do with me? It's the club where my father came, my grandfather came, my uncle, my cousin, my friends, my partner. They all came together. It's our club. It's the club of my friends and my family, my community, my city. That's what it's got to do with me and all of you as well."
Just how much work has gone into this by so many different people to get to a point where Sheffield Wednesday does have a future now?
Oh, absolutely incredible. I think you heard some of it today, and it's not always known that the letters to the EFL, the work on the finances, the organisation of the protests, the production of the scarves, the raising of money, incredible amount of work that isn't always seen. And, we talked earlier about the engagement group that Chancery had. I know some people had to suffer 5 hours listening to him, but then the other side was having to listen to an hour of the EFL and try to explain their regulations. That wasn't any more exciting, believe me. But that sort of work, going through it and challenging right the way through, was really important to get to where we are. Because in the end, the EFL knew that they were going to get challenged if they made decisions that affected our club in a way that we didn't want.
And what kind of a role did the supporters play, and in particular the Supporters Trust, to help get Sheffield Wednesday to this point?
Oh, I think if you look back to the protest at Leicester and then the coffin being brought to the ground, but then what really killed Chancery off was the starvation of his funding, the boycott of spending any money on the club at all. Not buying myself, not buying my cup of tea at half time or my pint of beer. But everyone contributed to that, didn't they? It was so effective but that was his cash flow to drip feed his running of the club and just keep it going until the end of the year when he could drop to League One, reduce his wage bill again, and just about maintain it. So that to me was absolutely key. The amount of organisation, the amount of commitment, the amount of buy-in from all the fans was just incredible.
I don't think people realise just the amount of personal sacrifice that's gone into the efforts to provide a future for Sheffield Wednesday. What has kept people going through that process to sort of not give up, to want to see this through to the end?
Well, as I said before, it's the love of a club. What would we all do without Sheffield Wednesday? Our lives would be so much poorer, wouldn't it? There'd be a big vacuum there. And it almost got to that point. A couple of weeks before David Storch finally bought it with Tom and Michael. It almost got there where the EFL wouldn't speak to him, and we're just about at the brink. What would have happened? We could all see that. But also, we've met all our friends, all here people tonight. We've got something in common, haven't we? The ability to sit down and talk about Wednesday, go and have a moan. That's what we do all the time, isn't it? For all the things that go wrong. But that's so much an important part of what we are. As a fan base, as a community, as a city. So I think that's what kept people going in the end. That love of the club, that commitment, that belief in it, but also our friendship and comradeship. And I've made so many more friends in this process. It's just great to see people here tonight who I've worked with and enjoyed working with, and and now continue to work with and continue to be friends with for many years to come.
You were one of the people who were on the pitch at Hillsborough before the game, before kick-off at West Brom. What was that like, the atmosphere? I had a great feel for that on the pitch, and when that scoreboard counted down and said that there were going to be 0 points next year.
After stress me out, I actually knew what the score was going to be, unfortunately, but I didn't tell anyone. I was sworn not to. But yeah, it was absolutely great. I suppose we all used to dream, didn't we? I probably still didn't until a couple of years ago, about walking on the pitch and then going on and scoring the winning goal in some great game. But to actually go on the pitch there and be part of a winning team, because we'd all done it together, hadn't we? We come from a crisis, we come from desperation, we come from an owner who didn't respect fans, didn't respect the club, and we'd actually won that battle. So walking out there with David Storch was absolutely great. We were part of a winning team and we won our battle. And you know, I was in Parliament talking only a few months ago about the need to have regulations to ensure that owners respected fans and consulted with them. We've now got an owner who doesn't have to have legislation. He actually does it because he believes in it. What an awful change we've achieved in that period.
How different is football going to be now that there's a football regulator? Is it going to help protect clubs from experiencing similar things that Sheffield Wednesday have experienced in the last few years?
I think some AFL owners are going to get a massive shock. You know, we got lobbied in Parliament to support the legislation, and I did right the way through, because it ought to bring about a distribution of money from the Premier League down to the EFL. That's one of the intended purposes, to make a fairer distribution in football, to make the football pyramid much stronger than it has been in the past by supporting the foundations of it. But what the EFL owners also voted for was a regulator to come in and make sure that they run their clubs in a proper manner, not just new owners coming in, but existing owners as well, and to show they've got proof of funds to run their clubs going forward. That's going to be a massive challenge and a massive change. And I think there could be, in the next few years, some clubs that get into difficulties because the owners can't meet those tests. Existing owners who perhaps have been stretching finance to the point where they're just about to break. So I think it will mean a very big change in football going forward, that owners are going to have to behave responsibly, not merely when they buy a club, but in running it for the future. And to run it with their fans, that's the other big change, right the way through the legislation. It doesn't mean that fans are going to have a say in which centre forwards are going to be bought next and who's going to be sold, but it does mean they're going to have to be properly consulted. And no longer can we have the situation, as we had with Chancery, where the owner picks the fans they want to talk to. It'll be supporters' trusts like the one here tonight, because they represent the fans properly, will have a right to have a say in their clubs. That's going to be a big change.
How important is that going to be? Because we've all, well, many of us will have been in this room and endured the 5-hour fans forums where the previous owner would discuss things like customers, telling people to sell their house. So as we move forward now, what role are the fans and the supporters' trust going to have with the football club, do you think?
Well, I think that's a matter for a negotiation with the new owners now. I think all the indications are they're going to be receptive. So I think some of the supporters' trust to say, how do they want to be engaged? What are the formats they want to engage in? What are the subjects they want to be consulted about? You know, whether it be ticket prices or catering or all the other things that matter to fans, you know, really matter to fans. Then I think the fans have got to say, not really what are you going to allow us to be talking about, but what we want to talk about.
And you've had a chance, as you mentioned, you know David Storch, and
Yeah.
you've had a chance to communicate with him. What can you tell us about the people who have bought this football?
Well, I've talked to him on many occasions now. He first of all gets that the club needs radical change right from the bottom up. So the fact he's talking about already developing training grounds and academies at a level that would be suitable for the Premier League. He's looking ahead that far. He's planning. I know David Bruce, the chief exec, will say he's got immediate challenges, short-term challenges, and then longer-term plans. So he sees that. I mean, David Storch is someone who's run a multi-billion-pound company in the States. So he gets organisation, he gets long-term planning, he gets strategy, and those things are absolutely important. This still hasn't been run properly for years. We all know that, don't we? There's been no long-term planning, no thought for the future. It's all been hand to mouth, and sometimes not very good hand to mouth at that. So that's what he gets, I think, and he'll bring people in to do the job. He won't do it all himself. New chief exec, new football sporting director, but looking for that investment in the academy, investment in the ground. Look, there's going to be a challenge. Do we actually try and redo Hillsborough, renovate it, make it fit for purpose, or do we move? Now, I think that's a question the fans have got to be involved in, absolutely. But we know if we're going to move forward in the future, we're going to have a ground that seats at least 40,000 to a modern, high-quality standard. Hillsborough doesn't do that at present, both in capacity and in quality. So those are the sorts of decisions that I'm sure you'll know David Storch will be addressing in due course. Immediately, we've got to make sure it's safe for the stadium and put right all the immediate problems. It'd be nice to have some hot water, wouldn't it, in the toilets, things like that. I mean, it's a disgrace what's happened to this club and this ground. So immediate problems to put right. But I know David Storch is already thinking about what needs to be done next and beyond that. He's thinking for the future. He's thinking for the Premier League in the long term.
And you've been a Sheffield Wednesday fan for an awful long time.
Yeah.
So how optimistic are you now that this can be the start of something for the Owl?
Well, 15th of March 1958, Bolton Wanderers. Albert Quicksall scored. Does anybody remember Albert Quicksall in the room? One or two. So yeah, a long time. And yeah, I'm as probably as optimistic as I've been since we had that great team in the 1990s. The fact that we've actually got, never before I think we've had owners who've had the long-term ambition for this club and really seen it as a club that can go forward to the very top, but in a planned and organised and properly invested way. So I think I'm more optimistic than I've been for an awful long time. It's great, isn't it? They come from the lows, hopefully going back to the highs. We're not going to get there tomorrow, are we? Everyone knows that. We can't expect things to change absolutely overnight. But what we're doing is putting the foundation for success in the future.
Shall we end with a joke, Clive? Has Sheffield Wednesday been a welcome distraction over the last couple of weeks for a change?
It's nice to go out and meet people say thank you for something instead of the other comments you often get as a politician. So, yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Is there a round of applause for Clive?
Okay, two more recognitions and then we'll be moving on. Clive spoke really well and passionately about the importance of the defunding campaign in getting rid of the previous owner. But of course, the defunding campaign came with a lot of risks, especially when the owner just gone was so stubborn and pig-headed. It could have led to the liquidation of our football club, which is obviously not something we wanted. So one of the aspects of the trust activities that we couldn't talk about until the takeover completed was the fact that alongside the defunding campaign, as part of that, we were actively going out into the market and trying to find who might be interested in buying Sheffield Wednesday, either directly from the previous owner, which proved impossible, or from the administration process. And we spoke to quite a few people. And that process was led by one of our board members who did an absolutely incredible job. The marketing materials they created opened a lot of doors for us. We had an email exchange with Mark Cuban, not a soccer guy, his email reply said. We spoke to a few other people. We spoke to a senior vice president of an American mining billionaire, amongst others. We spoke to a lot of time wasters and tire kickers as well. But the one person that we did speak to, as splashed by Alex Miller recently, was we spoke to Kia Gordon QC at Russell Charles and Speechless, I think it's called. The marketing materials interested in, he got in touch with us. Said it was a unique scenario for a supporters trust to be trying to sell a football club, but he said he'd go with it. And as splashed by Alex, who's not even listening to me, cheers mate, thanks very much. Kia Gordon got in touch with us last summer and said, I think we found somebody who's going to be good for Sheffield Wednesday, and that was David Storch. So we had our first meeting with David Storch in 28th of August 2025. We had another one in November, and we had another one in March. We've been in good contact with them. I can say that they've always said the same things in private as they've said in public, and they've been saying that since August. We had a delegation in August that met with David Storch online, and we were blown away by how impressive they were and talking about community and fan engagement even then. That process was led by another board member. It was not led by me, and they deserve to be recognised as well. Their marketing materials, like I say, opened us a lot of doors, and indeed I'm led to believe was subsequently used in the administration process as well to market the club to potential interested parties once that process started. So it's incredible work, and that person is at the bar where I expected him to be, our board member. Big round of applause please for my friend and colleague Tom Costin. Tom wants his book, apparently. So the second part of the defunding campaign, of course, was if you can't find a buyer, you need to make sure that the club gets into administration. The only way of getting the club into administration is by an excellent insolvency practitioner and his team who can convince a bona fide moron to put the club in administration rather than liquidate it. An insolvency practitioner and his team who can then run the club through an arduous sales process with a lot of noise and external parties trying to make life more difficult for them than it needs to be. And an insolvency practitioner and his team who can come up with the artful solution that means Sheffield Wednesday start next season on 0 points. So, a huge round of applause, please, for a leader and legend of Sheffield Wednesday Football Club, Mr. Kris Wigfield.
It's great to speak to you again. Just talk us through how challenging this administration process has been for Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, it's not been easy. I suppose we do this a lot, so you know we are used to it. I was able to call on colleagues that have sold previous football clubs, so that definitely helped. We did have a difficult owner to deal with. We had a fan base that, whilst I think united I shouldn't say united, should I? Unified in the end, was a bit fragmented at times, and we have had some people within the fan base that have caused us difficulties. So yeah, it's been challenging. We had no money. We had to find a way to pay everybody. We had issues with the ground, obviously, and having to spend money to sort that out as well. So yeah, it's been challenging, but I think obviously what got us through was the fact that we had so many fans that were willing to spend money, and that ultimately gave us the cash to get through. So yeah, I think ultimately the fan base definitely needs to be thanked in that regard.
Have you ever gone into a business or a football club and had administration so royally cheered on by a fan base when it happened?
No, that was unusual. And it's probably unusual to end the process still fairly popular. Albeit there was some bumps in the road, I think it's fair to say. So I did warn everybody that would come. So yeah, it was difficult, obviously, when what we have to do with our duties doesn't necessarily align with what fans may want. But in the end, I think we've all ended up in the same place, so it's a good result.
What are your memories of that first game after the club went into administration? The Norwich game was such a contrast to the previous game against Middlesbrough, where many people stayed away, but then such a great atmosphere for the Norwich City game, and I think that probably had an impact on certain people who were at that game who ended up buying the football club.
Yeah, so the Norwich game was good. The Oxford game was the first match into administration, and I was in Tenerife. David Storch was actually at the Norwich game. He was sat in one of our boxes, so I'd shown David round the day before. He was immediately likeable, I think it's fair to say. I went to see David before the game, and after the game it was clear that he was interested at that point. And I know from speaking to him on several occasions that what sold the club to him was the atmosphere at that game.
When you look through the process, how many legitimate people were there who were interested in Sheffield Wednesday, and how do you sort of go through to narrowing it down to a smaller list? Ultimately, you have one preferred bidder, they move on, then have to go through the process very quickly again. What is that like?
Well, there was a lot of people that weren't legitimate, but were very vocal. So first of all, you have to weed those out. So I know it's been well reported, but what was key was if you've not got £50 million, you've not got enough money to own this football club. So the proof of funding was important. So that did give us 12 people that we knew, or 12 parties that had the required cash. So it did then, from those 12 parties that had the cash, it effectively did come down to who is going to make the best offer, which is why ultimately we went through the process we did, where we had two preferred bidders.
Did you ever get to a point where you were worried for the future of Sheffield Wednesday?
Yes. Probably not until the last 3 or 4 weeks, but it's fair to say that if David didn't come through, there wasn't much behind him. So obviously we had concerns that if the FL were going to impose a 15-point deduction, would David go through with it? I think David was very effective in those negotiations, and he made it clear to the EFL that if we did get 15 points, he wouldn't go through with it. Only David will know whether that was brinkmanship or not. But I think it was certainly an effective negotiating strategy, and yeah, there was definitely a point where I thought there is a chance that this could go very wrong.
A lot of people have spoken tonight about perhaps the unsung heroes, or the people who are not aware of who played what role in helping Sheffield Wednesday move forward. The people that you work particularly close with, people on your team, who you'd like to sort of praise tonight.
Yeah, some of my team were absolutely key. They definitely wouldn't want to be named, but certainly in terms of coming up with a solution that ended up in us getting 0 points, a couple of the members of the team basically came up with that strategy, and without them, I think we would have got a point deduction.
And as you kind of look forward now, you often used to say when we interviewed you that you were quite looking forward to going back to being just a Sheffield Wednesday fan. Is that going to happen now? Are you going to get the season ticket and get back in the stand?
I'm hoping this is my last interview. It's fair to say that I don't feel a natural public speaker, and following an MP in that regard is probably not ideal. But yeah, I'm looking forward to just going back to being a fan and watching the games stress-free.
Yeah. What were your impressions of the people who are buying this football club? You'll have had to work with them very closely, different personalities involved, their plans for the Owls. What can you share with us about your communication with them and what they've said to you?
Yeah, I genuinely think that they're good guys. I think they'll be good owners. They understand what needs to be done. They get that the fans need to be treated correctly. They understand that they need to put people in key positions, and we've already seen that with David. So I'm as confident as you can be at this stage that we've got good owners.
And are you optimistic now, the same question we put to Clive, that this football club has not had a lot to celebrate over the decades? Can it now have some success, some sustained success, do you think?
I think so. I think I'll be surprised if this doesn't go in the right direction now. To put it bluntly, they're going to lose a lot of money if we don't get back to the Premier League. So I'm as optimistic as I've been since we got relegated from the Premier League that the next 5 years or so are going to be very exciting.
Well, Kris, pleasure to speak to you again. Let's throw a round of applause.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's probably enough about looking into the past. I think we need to now turn our attention to the future. So, as somebody who's been involved in the trust on and off for a decade, who spent most of that time trying to communicate to the previous owner that he needs to implement a proper organisational structure with an actual senior leadership team, it feels like a bit of a fever dream that I'm about to do this. But ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to the new CEO of Sheffield Wednesday Football Club, Mr. David Storch.
Thanks everyone. My two mics still.
Two mics still.
Seeing this is ridiculous. Two mics.
So David, it's good to speak to you and welcome to Sheffield Wednesday. What have your first few days been like working here at Hillsborough? What have you had to get involved in so far?
Yeah, well, hello everyone. I'm completely thrilled and honoured to have this opportunity. It's such an amazing football club like Sheffield Wednesday. It's been so this is officially week 2. There's a lot to do. Quite a lot to do in every possible area you could imagine, but it's a club with I think some of the best ingredients of any football club in England that hasn't had a proper go at it, and that's what makes this task really exciting. So I'm coming in every day with an immense amount of optimism and excitement for the future and what the future can hold, but I know that it's there's a lot to do. And myself and the owners are not blind to that, but I'm loving it so far. Everyone's been really wonderfully warm and welcoming. I didn't know what to expect, but it's a good classic kind of northern city where everyone is just so wonderfully warm and friendly, and it's kind of like where I'm from in the UK, and I love that. So thank you for the welcome everyone's given me.
Can you discuss your background in football and everything that's brought you to this point and the experiences that will shape you as a chief executive here at Sheffield Wednesday?
Yeah, totally. So my journey in football started. It was about 2012, and I took a job at Major League Soccer in the US. I've basically spent. I'm probably more American than I am English. I've spent most of my working life in America, so I'm just a bit more optimistic than most people, and I get excited about stuff, and I try and take people on journeys, and I've loved my education in the States and working in the States, and I was fascinated about a career in America from a young age, and I've been fortunate enough to study in the States. I studied at the University of Oregon. They've got a really good sports discipline that sits out their business school, one of the first that was actually of its kind anywhere in the world. And from there I got a job at Major League Soccer when we were, the league was 17 clubs, and when I left we had 30 clubs, and I was involved in a lot of the growth. It was a period of building, and I think one of the things you'll kind of see from me, and definitely from David, Michael and Tom, you've got builders, they build businesses. A lot of owners of football clubs have inherited wealth, or they've inherited something. These guys are builders. They like to roll up their sleeves, they like to get into it, and they like to figure out how can we take this thing to the next level. So at MLS it was an amazing experience for me. The league office is very different than a league office in the UK because it's about value creation, largely for all of the owners that sit around the table in a league like Major League Soccer. You become an owner, you want a slice of the league. So it's imperative for the league and the people at the league office to help lift your business. So part of my role was really working with every single owner, every executive around the table to help them grow their businesses. So given that there were 17 clubs when I joined and 30 when I left, I got to work with all of those new owners and all of those early executives to help them figure out, you know, everything from what is your team going to be called, why would anyone care, what is audience and fan acquisition strategies, commercial strategies, and everything in between. So it was an incredible grounding for me because every team and every market is so vastly different. Obviously, like this country, but in a country like America where you've got US and Canada, and Texas is obviously radically different from New York, and that's very different from LA, and that's very different from the middle of America and Chicago, wherever you might be. And it was just fascinating to be on the ground and just see how different owners interpret the task of trying to build a football club, some of the things that they might want to put in place. So I sat around the table with 29, 30 different owners, and I saw all kinds of different people from all kinds of different backgrounds, with all kinds of different belief systems. And they say in football, if you're going to work for a football club, make sure you choose the owner really well, especially when you're at a really senior level, because that's the person that is on the end of the phone every couple of hours. And I'll tell you, David Storch is on the phone with me every couple of hours with an idea or a thought, and I love that in him. You know, he's got a really amazing kind of energy and feel for things, which is so important when you run a club, which is about football's about feel, right, and emotion. At the end of the day, it's not like there's a bit of logic, but it's not a logic. It's a lot of feel and a lot of emotion, and he's very much like that. And I saw all kinds of owners, and they say work for someone that you want to trust and you want to go into battle with every day, and you want to build something with. And in David and Michael and Tom, I've definitely found that. But the other thing that people don't say about working in a football club necessarily is you really come to work for the fans. And for me, one of the great privileges is to make sure that I try and reflect everything that you desire in a football club, in the operation of the football club, and we can put into action, you know, some of those things that you're feeling every single day about your deep fandom for the football club. So from MLS, I was part of the team that brought Lionel Messi to the league, because all the contracts were signed centrally in the league office, and how you take advantage of a superstar like that, a lot of it sat out of the league office as well as with some of the local, whatever local club you might sign for, which obviously with Messi was Miami. He made his debut on the Tuesday, and on the Friday I left the league and I started at Sunderland, which is well documented. I'm from Sunderland as my team, and I worked there for 3 years and had an incredible experience of taking the club from 16th in the Championship all the way through to the Premier League. And it was an amazing journey and an amazing ride. Very fortunate to be part of that, but now I'm completely, as I said, thrilled about this opportunity ahead of us at Wednesday, and I fully expect to be here for the long run, and hopefully we can have a hell of a journey together. Have you still got Messi's number? Is it, well, his agent, which I think is the most important bit, isn't it? I can imagine a nice forward triangle that has Messi in it. I'm sure you're all could.
Yeah, he'd love it here. So
he would. It's like amazing. I'm really enjoying exploring this tenor.
So what have you, and ultimately David Storch and yourself, what are you here to achieve? What do you want to all achieve at Sheffield Wednesday?
Well, it's hard because you don't want to stand up here promising the earth. We obviously want the best for this football club. I just want you guys to feel like in us and in the things we do, you've got your club back, and you can recognise in our actions, yeah, that's my club. And I want you to come and experience Wednesday, whether it's at the stadium, home or away, whether it's on social media, whether it's at the store, whether it's trying to get a pint of beer, and you see your football club in the things that we do. I think that's the most important thing, because if we do that, we know we've got a big part of it right, because that's the stuff we can control. That's the stuff we can get right. You know, once the lads cross, football is an amazing business, an amazing game, but it's 90 minutes in the week, it often ruins that whole idea of a football club. When the lads cross the white line, anything can really happen. And the hardest part of working in the business of football is sometimes only one team ever wins, right? So what do you do with everyone else? As long as we can create a great environment for you, and a club that you're proud of, and a club that you want to come to, and you want to see continue to support, and you want to pass down through the generations of your family, and you want to share with your friends and have these amazing shared experiences that we've all talked about, that's really what it's all about. And obviously we're going to strive to put an incredible team on the pitch, a team that speaks to you, that speaks to the area, that really is reflective of what we believe as fans, and what, you know, I think reflects the area that the club's from, which is Sheffield. And that's the work that we'll be going through over these next few weeks with David and with a new sporting director, to really define that and bring that to life on the pitch. And then hopefully we do end up getting a lot of success on the grass, and everything we're doing on the other side, on the business side, just makes that feel even bigger and even more compelling.
Have you got any answer to what are the ingredients to make a great football club? What are the things that the successful clubs all have that Sheffield Wednesday will need to have if it's going to be a long-term success?
Yeah, I kind of look at it in five blocks, if you like. There's 5 pieces to me of a really successful football club. One is, and the first thing is the most important thing, it's fan first. It's putting the fan at the heart of everything you do, and that's just not me talking up here with lip service, but it's genuinely how you build a business that puts the most important constituent stakeholder at the core of it, which is the fan. So I like to say we're fan first, and then I like to say we are led by, you know, who we are, Sheffield Wednesday. So call that brand, call that purpose, call that heart and soul, call that culture. But we have to really build the culture of this club from the ground up. Definitely in the business, definitely on the football side. I think we really want to define what makes Sheffield Wednesday. And I think that's the work that we want to go through. And I think that's really important, because that's what we take to the marketplace, and that's what we get people really excited about. So when we talk to a player and you talk to them about the journey that we're going to go on, and what this football club's like, when you talk to agents who represent players, when you talk to the commercial community, when you talk to leaders, political leaders, the local and the national level, civic leaders, everyone who connects with a football club, that piece is so important. The other bit is the commercial piece. So if you think about your business in that you really care about the fan, you've got lots of fans that obsess over the club, that want to come to the club, that want to get into Hillsborough every week, that's really important. If you've got something that speaks to the world in a different way because of where we're from and the type of people we are, that's kind of that heart and soul that speaks to what makes Sheffield Wednesday, then you have the opportunity to make commercial gains. So commercially, we have to be much better than we are. We have to be. And that's everything from our technical partner, our retail operation, food and beverage at the stadium, ticketing, premium, and all of our corporate partnerships as well. We've got to be really, really good at that. But you don't get really good at that unless you've got a really strong fan base, a really strong connection, a really strong sense of who you are, a really compelling culture. Then the commercial stuff can come out of that. So that's the third bit. The fourth bit is the operation. We need a really, really sound operation. It's really football. It's really easy to get excited by the revenue streams of football, but you have to remember that underneath the hood, you have to be a really smart operator. You have to be smart with cost and efficiency with your operation, and effective with how you run the football club, both on and off the pitch. So that operational layer is hugely, hugely important, because that enables a lot of those things that I talked about. And it's easy to kind of forget about that, but you have to be really, really good at that. And the fifth thing is the football, right? And the football is the thing only we all care about. We buy a ticket to get out there to watch 11 lads that we absolutely adore mostly, and we hope to get us 3 points every week, and that's what it's all about. When we think about the football business, you have to think smartly in this modern context, because that's the arms race that everyone's trying to beat everyone at, right? Find that next great player. So recruitment is vital. Recruitment is everything when you think about the football operation. And that's from top to bottom, right? That's when you think about young kids all the way through to first team. The other thing that sits alongside that, obviously, is the academy, and how we become. We got to win hearts and minds. Like, I can't sit here and go, like, we've done it. Like, we're starting to build trust back up around the football club. It's why you guys are in the room, and there's a real feeling of gratitude in the work that the Trust have done, and many others around, friends of the Trust have done, to bring this football club really back to the fore again. And that's really vitally important. But we got to win hearts and minds with everyone. We've got to regain trust. So you think about young people, you think about young kids who dream about playing football, who who go to bed every night and dream about being a professional. We want them to dream about, especially kids from Sheffield, we want them to play for Wednesday, we want them to choose Wednesday, we want them to be fans of our club, and we want them to play for our club if they're of a desired standard. So you have to win in everything that you do, whether it's capturing hearts or minds because they want to become a fan, or whether it's capturing their signature because they're a really good talented player, and they can see them in themselves and the platform that we can give them here, that this is an incredible place to come and play your football. So we have to build an academy that is from top to bottom, world class and elite. And the thing that will sit around our football club is that sense of being world class. We have to start to act like a world class business. We have to set an example for everyone about what that looks like. And they're all the micro standards that you set around the football club, but they're some of the big swings that you take as well. So when I think about the business of football, I think about how we operate our business, they're the five buckets of activity.
You said you've been 2 weeks at the club. You'll be very aware, I'm sure, David, that there's a lot of work to do here. This is not a quick fix. This is not something that's going to be easily solved. So how big is the job here at Sheffield Wednesday that you're taking on and the other people who are coming to this football club are taking on?
Yeah, it's a pretty big one, I have to say. It sometimes, well, not sometimes, it keeps me up at night a little bit in a good way because I've just got lots of ideas and thoughts. I think the key is to really prioritise over the summer because you can kill yourself by wanting to do everything, right? There is a lot to do. There's no getting away from that. You guys all know that. It's the reason why we are where we are. The story from here and the upside is tremendous, but we have to have eyes on the prize. Like we've got 80-something days till we kick a ball again, right? That's not a lot of time. I should know that because David, when he's in the office, he puts the days on and then he scratches off and puts them in. I haven't looked at it for a few days, so it's freaking me out. But there's really three things. My job is to prioritise and get the business to really focus on the priorities because I don't want to be a mile wide. I want to be doing things really, really well. So the three things that we are going to be focused on over the summer are clearly the stadium. You know, there's a lot of money going into the stadium this summer. It's not going to be that sexy, the stuff we do, but you hopefully will, as a result, will have running water. You hopefully will have Wi-Fi connectivity. You'll have the things that you should have as a fan who's coming to a stadium to watch a football match. So we're going to fix a lot of those things. The owner's going to fix a lot of those things that should have been fixed previously. That's going to enable us then to do revenue generating things in the future. But there's a big body of work there, there's some signage work that we need to do. There's stuff we want to do down at the training ground as well, just to lift the place so it feels a little bit different. So you can kind of get a sense of this isn't the same Hillsborough Stadium I left against West Brom, but there is something going on here and I can feel it, right? Journey, momentum, energy, all that stuff, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is going to be the playing squad and getting the team on the pitch together and working with the CEO. So that's me. I'm just calling myself. You're working together with the two of you. I'm going to work myself. Working with the sporting director and the ownership group on really going to market aggressively and getting a team on the pitch that we can all be proud of. We've got to move quickly. We've got to be smart in the market. We've got to look at the opportunities that present themselves. And we've got to tell the story of Wednesday as we go along. Like we'll be doing a beauty parade to agents soon to tell them like this is not the same old Wednesday that you might have dealt with in the past. This is a different Wednesday. You've got to remember some of these people won't get paid. Won't get paid on time. It's basic stuff. But there's that you can guarantee will pay. And two, by the way, what a place for your player to play. And we want to sell that. We want people to understand that. So that's really important. So we'll be alive in the market because we're going to have to be. We're going to have to define our football identity moving forward and what we want that to look like, obviously with Henrik and the group. And then the third bit is we have to commercialise the football club because that drives the ability to do all that stuff, right? I'm not going to be blind to that, and no one can be blind to that. We have to build a really good commercial engine, otherwise we can't do any of those two things. And we're not doing that in a way that's going to make you guys hopefully feel uncomfortable, as hopefully you've seen some of the season ticket pricing and some of the other things that we'll look to do over the summer months, but we have to build a good commercial engine. And that means we've got to be attractive to local businesses, really attractive for local businesses. They should see an ability to improve their business by partnering with Sheffield Wednesday. I'm not going to go, with my hat out saying I need some money. I'm going to say, here's how I can help your business, because you connecting with Wednesday is going to improve and help whatever objectives or KPIs that you might have. So we need to work with the local market, we need to work with the national market and the international market, who hopefully get excited about Wednesday. But we've got everything to sell. Everything is available to sell. And we have to sell aggressively over the summer. I'm talking about from the shirt, I'm talking about sleeve, all the assets around the kit, the perimeter boards, the various packages, assets and inventory we have, all the premium spaces that we have in the stadium. We've got to sell it all, because that is the engine that drives the ability to be successful in the transfer market. So they're the three things. If you said, like, eyes on the prize, what are they? They're the three that we have to think about every single day.
I appreciate some of these next questions. You're 2 weeks in, you might not be able to answer everything in great detail. Just quickly on the Hillsborough. Is it just sort of aesthetic things that you can change this summer? And what is the long-term plan? Because some people will wonder, you've got broader plans to move to a new stadium. Are you preferring to redevelop Hillsborough and stay here? What can you tell us at this stage?
Listen, I don't think we know yet, and we want to be optimistic and be open-minded rather to the opportunity. It's unbelievably historic. I think if you put any of us on the spot, what would you ideally like to do? I think we'd like to redevelop Hillsborough and make it the stadium that we all want it to be. Ultimately, we have to think about two things, probably the two most important things when we think about the future of our home. One is, can we elevate and enhance the fan experience so that it's more engaging, it's a better place to be, we can create a better atmosphere, and we can drive the football performance through, just a great place to come and watch the game and feel like this is our stadium, this is our club. So there's a heavy dose of creating the most optimal fan experience in the building. And then the second thing is, can you generate the revenue you need from the stadium to be successful and only compete? Because we all want to compete, we all want to drive this club forward, but we have to recognise that it's one, let's get it right for the fans and the experience that you all have in the stadium, but two, what's the revenue mix that makes that appropriate? And when I say revenue mix, it's not about driving up the price of general admission tickets. It's about making sure you have the appropriate mix so that you can, again, as I said, be successful. So someone like Arsenal, for example, about 90% of their revenues come from their premium customers when you think about matchday revenues, such as the mix and the volume of premium opportunities around their stadium. We got to get that right, because we're miles off it here, miles off it. It's also not that easy to get a pint of beer. Most of you want a pint of beer or something to eat in the stadium. It sounds like an easy fix. It's not that easy to fix, because there's not that many places to put extra kiosks, but there is technology. There are things that we can do. Hopefully over the summer we'll try and get some of these going early on. Don't quote me on that, because we're working really hard, less than 2 weeks in, to try and figure out exactly what we can do. But for me, it's like, can we sell more beer? Cut down the queue time, the dwell time, make that as frictionless as possible, so that we can, you all want to have a pint of beer and stadium, the club benefits from that. So there are things that we want to do quickly there as well. But that's how we need to assess it. Fan, commercial opportunity, and we're obviously going to look at this first, and sweat that asset and go, can we make it what we want to make it? And then we've got to look at, Clive talked earlier about minimum 40,000. Is it 40,000? Is it 45? Is it 50? Who knows, right? What I do know is, coming off the West Brom game, we can do 33,000, 34,000 every week. If you can do it for that game, you can do it for any game. And that's what I've asked the commercial team. I've said, forget everything else that happened last year, just bottle that final day of the season and show that to people. Who wouldn't want to be part of that? Who wouldn't want to be part of that? It was unbelievable. So, that's how I think about it.
And then a similar thing on the training ground, because I think most people who've been to the training ground will appreciate it's a lot of work.
I hope they were legally in the training ground and not with a camera behind the training.
Yeah. If you want to get a big fan. What can you do to help the team in the short term? And then long term, what are your options? Because is it about, I don't think that site's even that easy to redevelop, is it? So do you look elsewhere? Are you already looking elsewhere to see if there's any other sites that you can use?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's about football performance, it's about optimising football performance, and I think that site limits us a little bit right now. So over the summer, we're going to do all the kind of quick fixes we can. There's a lot of cosmetic updates that we can do. You know, you'll all know at home, right? You give your front room a lick of paint, you walk in the next day, it feels like a different room. You know, there's some stuff we can do there to elevate the space. There's some things we need to do from a conditioning and a training point of view, and a gym point of view, so the lads can have better access to gym equipment and gym space, because it's going to be really hard next season. There'll be a lot of games, a physical league, so we need our players to be able to, one, recover the right way, but prepare themselves for what's going to be a really challenging season on the pitch. And we need our lads to be as ready as they can be for that, so there's going to be some work to figure out how we can kind of optimise that. There's some updates being done now to the pitches so that we are ready to go when the lads report back for pre-season, but also that improves the quality of those pitches over the winter months, where it obviously becomes a bit more challenging. But listen, I think we all know we're limited by space. You see all these brand new facilities that clubs are opening, 7+ acres, top to bottom pathways from under 6, under 7, all the way through to first team, and ideally we have something like that. So we're very open-minded on what that can look like, but it has to create the right signal to the marketplace. It has to create the right signal to players. We want to bring players to the training ground, see the training ground and go, I have to play here, I have to play here. Because remember, that's their office. The players are there every single day, recovering, training, optimising performance, getting ready for game day. We have to make that as good as we can. And these are where all the marginal gains are happening in the game right now, right? Where there's this arms race to create the best possible facilities for players to play in. So we have to be mindful of, again, hearts and minds, capturing the attention of young players. They want to choose Wednesday. So the accessibility is really, really important when we think about, where some of these kids are coming from. Can they get on public transport? Is it easy to get to 4 o'clock straight after school? Some of these things, but also at the elite level, the world-class level, is this a place that top footballers want to come and play, and they want to choose to play for Sheffield Wednesday? It's such a key part of their decision-making process.
How close are you to appointing a sporting director, and what can you tell us about the structure and how everything's going to work? With yourself, sporting director, head coach, the little things that fans want to know about, for example, like who's going to decide recruitment, who signs the players, who makes those decisions?
Yeah, so we're close. I think it's been well documented that we want to put a proper structure in place, a proper executive team in place. It's the right way to run the club. It creates stability. It creates transparency. It helps build trust, but it also creates great accountability from top to bottom. So someone who can oversee the sporting side is really, really important. So many of the great clubs, most clubs these days have a sporting director. So we're very close with our preferred candidate. We'll hopefully have some news on that pretty soon. The guy we've got in mind's got an incredible track record. He's a great human, which is really important. Really, really important. It's someone I can imagine going in the trenches with and really coming together and figuring out what we need to do to help move this club forward. Really, really deep thinker, high emotional intelligence, just a really, really good guy. I'm really excited. Hopefully we can get that through and we can get that done, and you'll get to meet that person soon. But that person will really have accountability for football performance. I'll hold him accountable because that person will report into me. In terms of how recruitment will work, we'll come together and figure out our game model, how we want to play next season, where we have gaps, where we have holes, what the budget looks like. So there's some element of the finance team being involved in that. As we build our budgets for next year, we understand what revenue is going to look like. We'll really largely determine what we can spend in the market, what we feel comfortable spending in the market. So the finance team will be involved in that, and then we'll sit with the head of recruitment, we'll sit with the manager, we'll sit with the sporting director, and we'll work through targets. And it's an evolving beast, the transfer market, because things are changing all the time. Players have changed their opinions, their minds, and they decide that we side with clubs. They decide they want to play wherever they might want to play. A club might buy a player, and that means suddenly there's a player available that you didn't think was available. So you are constantly, you're just live every day, every second of every day until the window shuts. But we've got some targets emerging in all the key positions, and we're ready to hopefully start executing those as soon as the window opens.
So have you got an idea of how many players you need to sign?
Quite a few. I don't even got enough for a team yet. Quite a few. And hopefully of a good calibre as well. One of the questions we get asked the most about is what's the situation with the EFL restrictions? You know, what are you able to do? What limitations are on you? How long those limitations will last for? What can you actually share with us tonight? Yeah, I can share a little bit. I mean, listen, we've the most important thing is the guys had already reflected on earlier was the work that David did, and Clive, I think, expressed it and explained what had happened, but his ability to navigate through what is quite complicated, the British kind of football hierarchy and the culture of British football, for him to navigate that so quickly and to play a completely ace card and take us from -15 to 0 points was the most important piece. We will have some restrictions that will sit over the club for at least the next year, maybe 2. But the most important thing is we don't have a restriction on wages, and we can go out there and sign players again. So we're not worried about it. We think we've got enough to be really competitive and put a team on the pitch that we hopefully all are very proud of. So yeah, challenging situation coming out of administration, challenging situation because of all the whiplash that the EFL has felt from this club over a period of time. Again, we've got to build trust back up with the EFL, like everyone. They will watch us. But hopefully over this next 6, 9, 12 months, they'll start to see how smart we are running the football club, how sustainable we're running the football club from a financial point of view, and with that comes more, I think, trust and ability to basically let this club loose. But we're not worried about what we can and what we can't do next year.
There's a lot of excitement about the return to the old badge, the badge that was previously used. And now fans want to see what that badge is going to look like on a kit. Is there anything that you can tell us about when the fans will get information and when that kit's going to be revealed to them, or any of the details around what it's going to be?
Yeah, I mean, it's really exciting, this stuff, because there's nothing better than a good bit of merch, right? And buying, hopefully, like you all will, all 3 kits. Save your money. Don't spend it on nonsense in the next couple of months. Save your money for the kids. They are going to be wonderful. What is challenging about is the retail businesses, they typically have really, really long lead times. You know, we're working now on kits for the season after the season that's coming up, and we're already behind on that, actually. So we're playing catch up. So the ability for a technical partner to be able to get us a kit for next season, given that we've obviously stepped away from Macron, is a real task. It's a real task. So, but we found a partner that, may or may not have been leaked out there. May or may not be true. I'm speaking like a real diplomat, or at least I'm trying to here. It's a tall order to get stuff out of factories and to get them into market, but we're working really, really hard to get them as soon as we can. And we've seen the designs, we've approved the designs. We actually saw photos of the first sample of the kits today. There's some work we need to do to get a few bits right, but hopefully we'll be hitting and go at a factory very, very soon, and then they'll be getting produced and getting brought to the country. So I can't put a timeline on it yet. We do want to have them as fast as humanly possible. But what I will say is, hopefully, in the kits you see this club at its best, and you definitely see the owl back in all its glory. And I think there's no greater signal of change than changing identity, and it's going to be loud and proud on all the merch. But what you will see is a really, we won't act like a club shop, we'll act like a retailer. We'll have a lot of drops, we'll have a lot of interesting things come out, we'll be pulling into the archives, we'll be creating stuff that you recognise, and we'll be creating new stuff that's able to bring in new fans in as well as re-engaging fans who remember the club from certain eras and stuff. So it's a really exciting time for the retail business, and it's one part I love the business immensely, and it's one part that I think is really exciting for you all guys. And it's one area of the business. I always explain it like this: and I've worked with a number of clubs who don't really think about retail in the way they need to think about retail. But you guys are going out there and you're spending money to wear the brand, to then celebrate the brand and show it off to everyone. And it's like, in what walk of life does your customer give you money to wear your brand, then show it off? It's like, it doesn't make sense. It's almost like we should be paying you to be wearing the kit and then show it off, you know what I mean? But that's why we have to work really hard at retail, because we want it to be reflective of the things you want, and we want you to be really proud about wearing it, because it's an extension. You're all, you know, your values and who you are is all completely interwoven in this football club. So for us to be able to spend time and energy, good time and energy on getting that right, is so crucial.
I think we've got 3 minutes before we're going to bring David Storch from his big screen behind us. So we'll finish with this. The season tickets are now on sale. So what has been your reaction to the early sales of season tickets? And what can you tell us about the plan on the pricing of those season tickets?
Yeah, well, there was a great body of work done by the Trust, with Jake at the Trust, that gave us a really good understanding of where we're at. We spend time on social. I spend a lot of time on social. I won't spend too much time on social. I won't get anything done, but I do spend time trying to get the pulse of the fan base and kind of see how you're talking in general terms and on a range of topics. And it was clear to us that we have we need to do something around ticketing and ticket pricing. So it was clear to us prices as being too high for a long period of time. I'm not a big fan of early birds, so we wanted to get rid of that. These early bird windows, the reason why I don't like early bird windows is because, you know, you've been a season ticket holder for 20 years, I'm not a season ticket holder, we open the early bird window, you pay the same price as I pay. It doesn't feel right to me. We wanted to reward loyalty, so one of the things we wanted to do is say anyone who's had a season ticket in the last 5 years, you get the cheapest price. You know, we wanted to go back 5 years because we know there's been a lot of fans who paid the ultimate sacrifice, which is to not spend money with the football club for all the reasons that we talked about. So we said, go back the last 5 years. Anyone who's had a season ticket in the last 5 years, you deserve the lowest price. And then anyone else who hasn't had a season ticket in those last 5 years pays 5% down on those ticket prices last year. So it was really important for us to do that. I wouldn't evaluate the pricing strategy just on ticketing alone, because when I think about fandom and what you guys really care about, I think about ticket prices, I think about retail prices, jersey prices, kit prices, and I think about the price of F&B, right? So I think you need to judge us in the round on all of those things. You know, overall, we think the prices of things are probably a little bit too high. We want to make those more appropriate. We'd rather sell more pints and more shirts and more tickets. So we've done really, really well. I think we were over 4 times our highest ever sales day in the first 24 hours, which is an incredible thing. And I can't imagine as many clubs in the country selling over 10,000 season tickets in 24 hours. I really don't believe that. So it's an amazing testament to the appetite of the fans to buy and invest and to reignite around the football club and to join us on the journey. And you know, we want to break a record, which is just under 21,000. I think we can go above that. I know you all liked a little bit of a marker, so tell all your friends we're trying to get to 21,000. Hopefully we'll get there. We'll keep pushing on. But we want to rock in Hillsborough next season. Like, if that place is rocking, you all feel good about life, the players can perform better, and we'll get out of this league quicker than we might have thought. So really important that we think about ticketing the right way, because we know how important it is for fans.
Well, David, I've been covering this patch for nearly 20 years. You can probably tell by my hairline. But I think that's an interview that's the kind of thing that Sheffield Wednesday fans have been waiting 20 years to hear from. So thank you for your time tonight.
We've just lost David in a minute, so we might jump to Tom Costin instead.
Okay, yes, Tom Costin. So is that ready to go?
That's ready to go, yeah.
Sorry, can I just Tom Costin? It's all right.
He's a bit quiet. Welcome into Wednesday community. We appreciate so much to James and everyone at the Supporters Trust for giving me the opportunity to be part of this day today. It is truly an honor to partner with David and Michael Storch to help steward this historic club and become part of this very special community. I also want to thank all of you personally for the incredibly warm welcome that you have given me and my family. From the moment we joined many of you at the lunch at Dillwell back in March to the surreal final home match a few weeks ago, we immediately felt welcome into the Wednesday community. We appreciate that, as it means a great deal to me, and it's something I'll never forget. At that first lunch at Supporters Trust, it became very clear that we are all aligned in wanting to help restore Wednesday together. Better Wednesday document reflects that passion and thoughtfulness and common sense for all the supporters who deeply care about making this club the best it possibly can be. I truly believe there is enormous potential in what we can build together. And one story from that lunch that really stayed with me involves Rob Brooks, who was sitting right next to me. Rob actually went home and brought me a copy, his personal copy of A History of Sheffield by David Hay. He did this after seeing that I had bought the Sheffield Wednesday history book by Janice Dickinson recently at the Megastore. Rob wanted to make sure that I understood not only the history of Wednesday, but also what makes the city of city of Sheffield and its community so special. It was an incredibly thoughtful gesture and one that meant a lot to me. I just hope he doesn't quiz me too much on that, but I'm working hard. On a personal level, one of the reasons I already feel so connected to the Wednesday community is because some of my favorite memories growing up were going to Boston sports games, my grandfather and father, and being a part of that passionate fan base in a hardworking city that reminds me a lot of Sheffield. My childhood team was the Boston Red Sox, different sport, but we went 86 years of torture without winning a championship before finally winning 2004. That experience taught me so much about how sports are much bigger than the game itself. They connect generations, families, and entire communities. It is very clear to all of us that Wednesday supporters feel that same deep connection to this club and even more. For years, I've been fascinated by what football clubs mean to communities and families across generations. The passion, the loyalty, the unwavering support that all of you have for this club stands out across the English and European football landscape. Through good times and difficult times, and to be clear, there have been many difficult times for the fans, you continue to show up for Wednesday. That passion is one of the biggest reasons why David, Michael, and our partners feel so honored to help serve as stewards of this incredible historic club. We will show up for you every time, too. We appreciate the weight of the responsibility that comes with helping lead a club with this much history and meaning. David, Michael, and I are also committed for the long term in helping restore this historic football club and building something that we all Wednesday supporters can be proud of. I already feel like I've built memories of a lifetime just attending just a few matches at Hillsborough with my family, and it's incredibly special thinking about the memories that we'll continue to build together through moments of joy, heartbreak, resilience. I mean, it genuinely gives me goosebumps thinking about it, and I cannot wait for the first game in August. Like all of you, we have big ambitions for the club, but we also recognize that success will not happen overnight. There's a tremendous amount of work, hard work ahead to rebuild the club the right way, and we need to create a strong foundation for sustainable long-term success. In this vein, we are incredibly fortunate to have David Bruce leading the organization and building a top-flight team, both on the sporting side and across the club operationally. We truly could not ask for a better leader to help the club going forward. We all look forward to having you hear more about his vision and his strategy for the club at the meeting today. In concluding, people often say it takes a village to build something special. But Wednesday is massive, and our village will be a massive advantage. And with the passion, belief, and support that all of you in Supporters Trust continue to show, I truly believe we will have the opportunity to build something historically special together. So thank you again, not only for your support, but for the honor of allowing us to serve this club alongside all of you. We look forward to locking arms together for many years ahead. On that last note, up the Owls.
Big thank you to Tom Costin, who is one of the key figures at Aspire Capital Partners. So we're now ready to introduce the new Sheffield Wednesday chairman, David Storch, onto the big screen. And there's the man himself, in his shape. It'd be great to see you again. Can you hear us, first of all? Can you hear us loud and clear?
Yeah, perfectly. Yeah.
Well, it's great to see you. Have you got a message for the Sheffield Wednesday fans who are in attendance here at Hillsborough tonight?
Wow, let me think where to start, Rob. This has been, as you've heard me say before, I don't want to repeat myself, but it's been an incredible journey. The way I think about it is it's more or less like a continuum. It started with the Supporters Trust efforts to, basically move away from the prior owner. I was fortunate enough, blessed enough to be introduced early on to the Supporters Trust and recognized after meeting Tom and James and having a chance to go to the game on 5 November with Michael at my side together. We came away just incredibly blown away with the opportunity, with the spirit, with the efforts that have been put forth by this group, and then found ourselves in a very fortunate position to be here at your side to enjoy rebuilding this club together. There's been a lot of momentous events that have taken place since, let's say, 5 November. And some of them have been already shared. And yet here we find ourselves today as the owners of this very historic and proud club. And it couldn't have been done without so many people have spoken before me here tonight. And ultimately, one of the most significant events throughout this whole process, I can talk about James, I can talk about Tom, I can talk about Clive and Lord Blunkett and all the incredible people I've met along the way. You yourself, Rob, and Alex, and ultimately culminating in Asher Simons introducing us to David Bruce and giving us the ultimate confidence that we had our guy to go ahead and carry this team forward. At one stage, it was a scary thought, thinking that Michael and I might have to make decisions that we weren't really necessarily prepared to make. We understood the basic culture we're trying to set. We understand the tone. We can establish a tone at the top. But until we found David Bruce, man, it was a very, very.
We will try and reconnect with David Storch. Just to let you know, what we're going to do is, provided we can actually get him back on the screen, in about 10 minutes time, we're going to open it up to the floor. So we've got some questions that have been sent to us. We'll put some of those to David Storch and David Bruce, and they will be answering those questions. And if you do have a question on the floor, we're only going to have 20 minutes, so we're not going to be able to get through loads of questions. It's not going to be a former owner Q&A where we spend 5 hours talking through this. So we're going to have a bit of time for a Q&A in a bit. David, we've re-established with you. Just,
Yeah.
just because we're gonna get to the floor, we want to give the fans an opportunity to ask some questions
Absolutely.
as well.
Please, by all means.
What is the ownership of this football club going to look like now? How are you going to lead as owners moving forward?
Well, as I started to say here before, Rob, basically provide a tone at the top. We are going to be seeking excellence in everything that we do. We're going to create a product to make you guys feel very proud about being, the fans you are. And we're going to work very closely. We're going to first of all put in a first-class executive team in place, and then work very closely with the executive team. Give them the space they need to do what we have confidence they know how to do, and be there to provide counsel and guidance, enthusiasm, support, and capital. And so what you'll see from us is very consistent with what you've seen so far. You've heard David kind of, I think, elaborate on the processes as we see them. And, you've heard me say before, returning this club to the fan. This is your club. Club's been around for 159 years. We're owners for 2 weeks and about 3 days. And for us to come in and kind of dictate how it should be is just not how we're going to function. So we're going to provide the leadership. We're going to try to build on the culture that's been established over this 159 years, and then hopefully attract people like you've seen David speak, and you're going to see some of the additional executives over time come in and do a great job.
And what are your long-term ambitions, David? What are your long-term ambitions going to be for Sheffield Wednesday under this ownership?
Well, yeah, I think our focus, and can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Hello? Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Hello? Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. All right, so it's a journey towards excellence and greatness. And I'll leave it to you to describe what excellence looks like and what greatness looks like. And we're going to do all we can to bring excellence and greatness to this club.
And what role will the supporters play as you move forward, as you try to drive this club forwards now? What role are the trust going to play and the broader fan base at Sheffield Wednesday?
So I had the luxury of meeting leaders from other fan groups. Got very excited and enthused with feedback I received from them. A series of ideas that I think we'll be able to incorporate. And then in terms of Supporters Trust, I offered early on, I said I'd be very, how should I say this? I'm well, James, I guess I said it. I mean, I've offered a seat on the board to the Supporters Trust, and I don't do that. I don't do that lightly. I do that because I value the voice, and I realize the importance. So when Clive said before, we'll have to see how the owners reach out to the fans. I can assure you that the fans are going to be part of this journey. We have already, all decisions we've made so far have been made in consultation with fans. We didn't have to ask if we should have hot water. We figured that one out ourselves. And I think getting the IT right and getting the Wi-Fi. But I think when it comes to design, when it came to ticket pricing, when it came to, I think, some of the more important elements, you guys are going to be part of the journey. This is your club. I mean, I'm just not, those aren't words. And, I'm the new guy on the block. I hope I bring the right level of enthusiasm, excitement, and professionalism that you guys relate well with you guys. And together we create something really great. Early on, I remember reading the A Better Wednesday document, talked about governance, for instance. So I think what you're going to see is you're going to see a board that's going to be very engaged, active, and representative of what you want to see, including a member from the Supporters Trust.
And before we open it up to the floor, David, and get some fan questions for you. Oh, I think he's.
Yeah, Rob, if I may for 1 second. We wouldn't be here today without the Supporters Trust. And I'm a loyal person that will never be forgotten. It will always be appreciated. It will always be respected. And it will always be part of this journey.
Before we go to the floor, David, I just wondered if we could get a thought on that West Brom game, because you were out there and you delivered the news that it was going to be 0 points next season rather than -15, and the reveal of the return of the badge and the atmosphere of that day. Just how special was that for you at Hillsborough?
Wow, well, you also know I had 16 of my family members there. A few of them were happy to cut out school to be there, but they, I think they really had a blast. So for me and my family, it was a very special day. I mean, one of the more, and we've been blessed with a lot of very great days. But this is right. I think Michael said it well in his tweet, where this is one of the happiest days of his life. And I've lived a longer life so far than he has, and it's one of the happiest days of my life. So when you think about the emotion that went into that day, I mean, we've glossed over the fight for the 15 points, but I think Kris played a great role. And although he doesn't want to mention names, Joe Hammond from his team was incredibly instrumental and came up with the elegant solution that allowed the EFL to cooperate and allow for the 15 points to disappear. But there was a lot of work that went into making that 15 points disappear. And when somebody had the idea to go ahead and show the 15 points rolling off the way that they did, when it got to 0, I had a very hard time holding back tears. I mean, it was a very emotional moment for me. It was kind of the culmination of a very hard-fought journey. And I could see the light in the fans. And, the notion that the way it worked out, where we would actually not only start next season with 0, but end this season at 0, had a certain symmetry about it, which I think is almost like fairy tale like. So if we had been sitting around having this call, 4 or 5 weeks ago, and we had said that we're going to end the season on 0 and start the next season at 0, we could have everybody could have put one pound in, and we'd all be able to retire in 2 weeks' time, because the odds that we'd be able to pull off 0 and 0, I don't have to say anymore.
Well, congratulations on that news, David, and thank you for joining us. And we're now going to open it up to the supporters who are here tonight. I think there is a roving mic going round. Is David Bruce still here as well? David, do you want a mic as well? Because then if you want to answer any of the questions too. And you only have to have one mic this time, which is good. Okay, so have we got a question on the floor to start with? Is anyone going to put a hand up? Because I've got a few questions here that I can throw the fellas. Have we got anybody who wants to start off? If not, I'll ask one of the questions here. So Eve has got in touch, David and has asked, will Owls in the Park be going ahead this year? Have we got any information on Owls in the Park? Can we turn David's mic?
Is it? Yeah. Can you hear me? Hey everyone. We love Hours in the Park. We think it's amazing, but with everything that we have to do between now and the start of the season, it's just gonna, I think, kill us all trying to do it this year. We've seen what made it special in the past. I think there's a real potential to rethink that event. So it's absolutely something that we want to get on the calendar. But I think we need to take a moment on it and come back really, really strong next summer. So something we want to do, but we want to do it right. And I think you heard me talk before about doing things right, not half-baked. And I think this is one that we just want to have a minute on. We could get the team to think about it now, but it just means we're going to miss all that other stuff that we talked about. And I think we just, again, with the ability to prioritise, we have to do that type of stuff first.
If there is anything you feel that wasn't asked tonight that you really want to ask, this is your opportunity. So put your hand in the air if you have a question, and we will get the mic to you. We have an arm in the air over there, so if you get a microphone there. And while we're getting the mic across to that side of the room, Richard has sent a question in. He says, we went to a baseball game in the United States on holiday last year. The fan experience was incredible. Free merchandise for those arriving in the stadium early, player profiles and stats on the big screen as part of the build-up, and lots of interaction, fan interaction stuff as well. Could we do similar things at Hillsborough?
David Storch, you're the baseball guy.
David, okay, David Storch. I'm also the American in the crowd, right? So, my first baseball game was 1961. Show your hands, how many were alive? All right.
1 or 2.
Okay. Okay, so Cleveland Indians, New York Yankees, twilight doubleheader. And I thought it was the most amazing thing that the minute I walked out to see the baseball field was a sight I'll never forget. That was 60 some odd years ago, and yeah, it stays with me forever. So I mean, David made the comment about what it was like working at MSL, and the leagues here in the clubs here in the States are joined at the hip in terms of trying to create the greatest fan experience possible. And I think we at Sheffield will do our bit to kind of duplicate some of that fan experience. We have some fun things in mind, and you'll see some of that. And hopefully, at some point in time, our league leaders will see, the opportunities here to do a much better job in promoting the game itself and the fan experience, so we can work in concert. Because the leagues here in the United States not just encourage clubs to do that kind of stuff, but actually participate in those activities. So hopefully you'll see more of that as time marches by.
I'll just add to that, free merch is not something that we have in mind, by the way. neither at £18 pints either, so you can rest assured that that's not something we have.
I believe we have a question over on the left-hand side of the room there.
I don't know if you'll be able to answer this today, but I've got a 5-year season ticket, and I'm 2 years into the 5-year season ticket. I've been to the ticket office today, and they said they didn't know whether they were going to be honoured or not. I know it's a bit awkward to ask at this stage, but I would be interested in knowing whether I've got to pay out another amount this year for a season ticket that I paid for 2 years ago. I'm sorry to put you in that position now, but thank you.
I believe there are 138 of you, and I believe we've already committed to honor your tickets.
There we go.
Thank you very much.
I can't tell you I know the process, but it's our intention to go ahead and honor those tickets And it's a shame what happened to you all. And we don't want to see that continue. We don't want to see any of the pain continue. So I've agreed to go ahead and cover the ticket, your 5-year tickets.
Thank you for that, David.
But then I'm expecting / hoping that you're gonna buy an extra beer and maybe even an extra jersey for one of your kids and help celebrate the special occasion.
Does anybody else in the room have a question before we go back to this? We've got an arm up there, if we can get a mic. Have we got a mic over there as well? Okay, we'll take that question next because there's a mic there now, and then we'll come back to you. So.
Could I just ask whether, in the fullness of time, I appreciate there's a huge amount of work to be done, whether there might be consideration for the Sheffield Wednesday women's team to eventually become under the umbrella of the club. 30 years ago, we were quite a decent team, and we had a couple of members of the Lionesses team. So it's just a question in the fullness of time whether that might be something you might consider.
David, you or me?
Yeah, I can take this one. I think we're assessing everything. We know how important the women's game is to football in this country and in this area. When we think about fan growth, certainly a huge portion of that is going to come from female fans and fans that want something different. I think importantly, if we do the women's product the right way, it brings a certain type of fan and a different type of fan to the stadium. I've seen that in the past. My experience at my last club and my experience in the States, it's a different type of fan that's wanting different types of things out of the experience of going to a football match, which can only be additive and good for everyone and the value that we create around the football club. So yeah, absolutely, it's something that we're looking at. Obviously not immediately because there's other things that we need to get to, but it's definitely something that David, Michael, Tom and I have spoken about in terms of over time, does this make sense to bring it into the broader Sheffield Wednesday umbrella?
Thank you for your question. We have another one over there.
My wife Leslie and I have 10 grandkids, 8 of which are granddaughters, and it would be our intention to give them the same opportunity to become professional as there might be for the 2 grandsons. So, yeah.
Go ahead.
My question. Henrik Patterson, will he be having additions to his coaching staff? Because obviously the coaches that helped him out last year, a lot of us came from the academy, not really experienced coaches as such. Will you be looking to bring an experienced coach in to help Henrik?
Well, that's work that we're doing right now with the sport director. So until I think we have the sport director in, we can't really answer that. Henrik is really happy with the coaches that he does have. You know, people like Peter and Kris, they've got quite a lot of experience around the football league and importantly in the league that we're going to be playing in. It's a good group. It's a group that works really well together, that trusts one another. They have skills that complement one another. So he's indicated to us that he's happy with who he has, but ultimately the assessment that we will make will be once we get the sport director in place.
If you have any other questions, put your hands up and we will rush a mic over to you. Can't see it at the moment, but Con, if you've got any questions that you feel like we haven't got to so far, I think we've got one at the back of the room there. And I think, is there another one down there? Okay, do you want to go first?
Hi David, yeah, probably not a question, but I just want to place, sort of on behalf of all the fans of Wednesday, thank you for choosing us, thank you for going through a process that I imagine will be hugely time consuming and stressful for you and your family. So yeah, I don't want to take any more time, but having, you know, my granddad supporting my great granddad, my dad and now me, and hopefully one day my own kids, it's brilliant to still have a club to look forward to in the future, so thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll echo my thanks as well, guys. I've shaken David's hand here, and I'm sure I'll shake your hand one day, Mr. Storch, as well. My question's about the fan zone, maybe. You've obviously bought the ground, the training ground. Don't know if you've got any other bits and pieces of land, what's come as part of that parcel. Current fan zones in a car park. There is other bits and pieces around Hillsborough Stadium, maybe behind the cup. Any plans to look at exploiting that? Maybe a bit of land?
Do you want me to take that, David?
Yeah, so at this moment, our plans are fairly well, around the existing infrastructure. I think David answered the question well in terms of how we're looking at Hillsborough long term. And if we can create the right environment, answer the fans the way fans need to be answered, then we'd like to continue to pour more capital in to make that stadium, take advantage, I should say, of the history of the stadium, kind of do our thing to honor the history of the stadium, including, a more thoughtful solution to the April 15th, 1989 event. And, in terms of expanding the footprint in area and spaces around, I think at the right time, if the opportunities were there, we would explore what the possibilities might be.
Just got a quick question here from Tim, who wanted us to ask, can you please clarify the ownership of the ground? Is this now 100% owned by the club, or is the deal still to be finalised?
100%.
Has anybody else got any questions on the floor? I've got a few more here, but if anybody, I want to make sure that people here get an opportunity as well. I've got an arm up there. So I'm going to that gentleman next. Go ahead.
Well, to honour David, really, there's an expression in business about trying to establish what good looks like. I'm just interested with both your experience. This is David Bruce, obviously with American football and football scenes, but also maybe in American sports such as baseball. Have you got kind of a club in mind that is a kind of model for how it's run and what you would wish to aspire to with Sheffield Wednesday?
It's a great question. I think there's it's interesting, the football business. I'm going to answer it this way. The football business always looks to itself, I think, to see who's doing interesting things. And I don't think it really moves along very far by doing that. It's just small kind of incremental gains. I think the real stretch comes when you start to look at other sports and you look at how other sports are engaging fans and driving commercial programs and disrupting and reinventing. I think there's there's sports out there that are doing interesting things. I think Live Golf, and I know they've got obviously some challenges with public funding, but I think that's a really, really interesting model that's looked at the business completely different and the fan experience completely different, how fans follow on the course and how fans follow on TV. I think, F1 does an incredible job. They've got a brilliant model, commercial model that is really unrivaled, but it's because of how they lock in fan attention for long periods of time. I look at businesses that do brilliant jobs with content and storytelling. There's a lot of sports clubs out there that do that. A lot of the American clubs do a really, really good job of that. Baseball is a very, very good example of celebrating the content and the storytelling piece, and that's something this football club needs to get a lot better at. One of the ways that I look at it is the football business should be relatively straightforward to deliver a football match, right? It's the main thing that happens every game. The hardest thing is when the whistle ends a game and starts the next game. What are you doing in that period of time to be relevant, to engage, to activate the fan base in the right way? And that's the stuff football doesn't do enough of. It exists often in this country just to put a football match on. It doesn't think about the other stuff. But you guys live and breathe this football club all the time. So how can we do things to connect and engage in ways that we haven't in the past? Not just for you who are already fans, but the new fans as well. So we're always looking, we're always searching for case studies and best in class examples. We also look a lot at how we think about understanding the fans and understanding our corporate customers and business customers, how we use data. We're not using data nearly enough at this football club. How we think about how AI overlays across our business as well, so it'll be really efficient and effective. There's a lot of things we're thinking about, but we've got to get some fundamentals right first. But it's a great question. There's a lot of businesses, sports businesses out there we admire, but there'd be a few that I reflect on. Jonathan has asked,
and if I may add just to that for a minute, having grown up in American sports, there are 4 franchises. We call them franchises. You call them clubs. So I'll call them clubs, even though they would prefer to be called franchises. We have in the NFL, you have 2 incredible examples. One is the Dallas Cowboys, which over time became known as America's team. And they did that through, a lot of hard work on the field, but also ownership that understood how they could promote the name and the game in a way that would transcend the sport. We have in the earlier days of football, you have a small market club by the name of the Green Bay Packers, which dominated football for a period of time, and coming out of a relatively small market. In basketball, you had the Boston Celtics, which were a club that dominated. I think they won something like 9 out of 10 championships between the 50s and 60s. And they played a team game that caught the eye and attention of fans across, not just in Boston, but across the entire country's fan base. And then the last, I'll leave for the last, was my experience with the Chicago Bulls during the 90s. There was nothing as intense as that 6 or 7 year, 8 year period in all of sports. And I don't know, show of hands, has anybody ever watched the show The Last Dance? I mean, here in the States, it captivated audiences, young and old, people who experienced the Bulls, people who didn't. And each one of these cases, the Dallas Cowboys, the Green Bay Packers, the Boston Celtics, and the Chicago Bulls, they became not just part of the community, they transcended their sport, and they captured in some cases, worldwide attention. So when I think of Wednesday, I think of the first and foremost, the Sheffield audience. But I see something very interesting when I think of the name Wednesday. It's not uncommon to look at football clubs and hear somebody called either United, City, Town. We're Wednesday. And there's a power to Wednesday. And that's something that I find, quite frankly, appealing and attractive. I think if we can use some of these U.S. sports clubs' experiences as a model, I think we all can walk away from this and feel very proud. So Sheffield Wednesday should be in the same pantheon as the names I just mentioned. I'm sure there's others, around the world. I want us to be at the top of the list when it comes to fans and the world thinking about football.
Thank you for that.
Sheffield Wednesday.
We're just about at the end. I just want to chuck these last 2 questions in. They are sort of direct questions about fan experience. So Jonathan says, as a supporter with 2 young children of 6 and 2, I'd like to know, if they are going to look at the mascot packages, because at present they don't justify the price tag. And then a different topic, Aaron says, I'm keen to understand for overseas fans if iFollow will be better. The previous owner charged almost the same as a season ticket and didn't even have the rights to all of the games. Delayed start wasn't available, so you could only watch Saturday games on a Monday here. Better value needed. So have you got any thoughts on those two particular questions?
We're looking at both of them. I don't have an answer right now, but like we are looking at both of them. Like mascots is a massive product and opportunity for young fans. We're going to take a look at that. And iFollow is largely what's given to us by the EFL, but we can extract some additional features on that. So we will be looking at both those things.
And I suppose as we come to the end, would either of you like to offer any closing remarks to the supporters tonight?
David?
Yeah, I would just like to say, listen, strap yourself in. This is going to be a fun journey, really fun journey. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. We'll win together, we'll lose together, but we'll be really strong as a group. And it's going to be amazing. So stick with us and enjoy it. We will listen. So please, if you've got any thoughts and feedback, we are the type of group that's going to listen and hopefully implement a lot of what we hear that makes sense. So enjoy it.
And if I may, I see you all as a family, and I'd be very honored if you welcomed my family into your family.
To both Davids, I think a round of applause and thank you for your time tonight. Support for the appreciation. Thank you to David Storch. Just to finish to say thank you to everybody for attending, really appreciate it.
Just with some closing remarks there from David Storch. How did everybody feel? How did that go for everybody? What did you all reckon? I want to get some comments in. I'm going to be here for about 15 minutes reading some of your comments. I've just realised I didn't get changed or put on my fancy light. That's how it's going. Big shout out to Ash, who's had to hold his camera the entire time. 2.5 hours there from the club. Something really engaging, something proper going on, and I really enjoyed it. Great to see David Storch. I don't know who that was in the back of the car. I bet they wish they got an Uber. But yeah, let's get some of your comments. Let's start talking about it in a bit of a timeline. We started out with a few of the trust members. We had some awards for Alex and Rob for the work that they did. We also saw the new elected directors in Rich Davis, Olivia McGuinness, and Catherine Williams. They were there as well on the front table. Wrists of Steel Ash is what I've got there. Big fan of that. Because well, we did it. All the best laid plans did go to waste, bless them. So let's get through it. Let's have a chat, shall we? Let's get some comments in. I want to see what you've got to say about it. So we had a big shout out for Alex and Rob for the work they've done. There was also a big shout out to Ian Bennett, who had a hell of a tan. Bless him. Big fan of Ian finally getting a holiday. Spoke really well. The working class hero, as Jake called him. And then he made sure that he spoke to. He made sure that he gave a big shout out to Rob and Jim from the 1867 group. And then there was some interesting stuff now. So Clive Betts then spoke and said that the trust put a lot of work and due diligence into potential new owners, in particular Rob and Otto Brooks, who received national recognition for their research. And so when Clive Betts was speaking, he said, "We won our battle against an owner. We didn't care for the club. We now have an owner who does things because he believes in it," which I truly believe, which is great. I don't know why Clive Betts had to get involved, but that's regular watchers of this show will understand what I mean by that. You know what I mean? And then Rob Statton managed to get a sell your house comment in. So look, we had a lot going on, and then we were spoken to by Dave Costin, we were spoken to by David Bruce, who spoke very well, wanted to speak about the future, wanted to speak about what was going on, and then David Storch did a bit of a Q&A at the end, and so one brave soul stood up and went, "What's happening with my 5-year season ticket?" Big fan of that. Yeah, you look after your own corner there, babe. It's all right, like, you know what I mean? However, there was one contentious thing that did get spoken about, and I did speak to Jake about this last night on last night's show, that it was Sharman that floated it tonight, saying the trust on the board is a great move. And then we had a number of comments sort of saying the opposite, that the trust has a bit of a conflict of interest. They want their seats, they want their little corners and things such as that. But then there's also representation. There's fan representation on the board, and I'm interested as to what you guys would say about that. So let's talk about it. Fan representation on the board. I should do a poll, shouldn't I? Can I do that? Have I got access to those buttons? Yeah, let's have a look. I'll put it in now. Fan. Hang on, no. Trust members on the board. If you press 1 for yes and 2 for no, we can do that. We can take a little look about. Excuse me. So let's get that out. Let's have a talk about it, and let's get through some of your comments this evening. So, a big shout out to Ash, who had to hold up the camera the entire time, and so we've got that. Ash took himself some of the pills from Dan to keep himself firm for over 2 hours. For those of you who didn't watch last night, I received some pills for my old chap rather than for my hair, so that was a fun night involved for everybody. Izzy is wading on the trust conversation. I don't think it's in self-interest, but I do worry that it would stop the trust fully holding the owners to account, which I understand to an extent. And then Ben says, "I'm a yes if I'm on it," which is fair. Paul Ferrugia says, "I think it's a good idea, even if the board take no notice. At least we have our 2 penneth." I think for me, when I've spoken about this in the past, the interesting thing is that, and I did speak about this last night, is that there was an issue. We have an issue that any fans younger than about 38, 36, something like that, they're all legacy fans. They're all fans that have been told what football team to support. We haven't enticed any new fans in because it's been such a shambles at the club, and I feel that every trust member, and there was a bit of a joke about it this evening during the AGM, that it's a lot of middle-aged white men, and that's what it is. There was a great question about amalgamating the ladies' team into the fold, which I believe the discussions are still ongoing on that. But the poll is quite divisive here, isn't it? So engagement wholeheartedly yes, but a seat on the board no. I think I agree with that personally. And then John says, "I think there's more to this group than meets the eye. I think more people are lurking in the background depending on success of team. I think it could be something special moving forward long term. As long as the trust use their position wisely and positively, I'm all for it." But I think that with being on the trust, there needs to be an element of pushback every now and again, and I don't think you can do that from a position of what's perceived, and I don't believe this, but what's perceived as a position of grandeur. Do you know what I mean? A position of favor, which is how sometimes the trust can be perceived. We all remember the booing that James Silverwood got when David Storch mentioned him on the pitch, because it's perceived in a certain way. So you know, I'm intrigued by it. I'm intrigued by it. But let's talk about some of the other things that was spoken about. It was also the American version of Dragon's Den is called Shark Tank, and one of the guys on that is called Mark Cuban. Turns out we've reached out to him to see if he wanted to invest in Sheffield Wednesday. He turned us down. No one reached out to Jermaine Jackson, which I feel might have been an issue. We should have reached out to him because he's I'm a bad owl supporting mother fudger. That's right again. And Sharman says this is Brexit all over again. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So let's talk about David Bruce as well. David Bruce spoke wonderfully well. We've all heard from Kris Wigfield, who I think now has retired from the public speaking arena. David Bruce said everybody's been, warm and welcoming. It's a good classic northern city. And then he professed to go on to say he's more American than he is northern with his northeastern twang. And he said he fully expects to be here for the long run. And what I felt that there was a huge amount of trust placed onto David Bruce from David Storch, which I really found quite interesting. Like he's kind of gone, there you are, there's the club, go manage it, and I'll sign the checks. Is the perception that I'm getting? I don't know if you guys are getting that as well. Now, this is the big one. No owls in the park this year, sadly, because they wanted to focus on the everything else that they've listed tonight, which means it's the Wednesday week. We're going to be bringing back owls in the yard. Of course we are. After the success of last year, and because there was no owls in the park, we'll bring back owls in the yard. I've already spoken since that question went on to the proprietor of the Kelham Island Steel Yard. So we're going to try and work in the background. We're going to formally announce it, but this is a bit of a teaser for you. This is a bit of a teaser for the I don't know what I'm tickling there for the viewers that have stayed with us this evening. But don't be shy. I want to hear from you lot as well. I don't know what Ned means, Sharman. You can still be critical if you're Ned. It's vital that the distinction is made by the owners and the trust. Full executive directorship wouldn't work. I don't think it would. David Bruce did go on to say that optimizing football performance at the site, the training ground, limits us. And he also spoke about a gym. And I think somebody commented, who knew that the players needed a gym? It's absolutely incredible that, someone's come in and spoke about proper training facilities and proper things to, just things that you consider as normal. But all of a sudden, they're pie in the sky thinking for a club like ours, which is absolutely insane. And then Dave Bruce also spoke about ticketing and pricing, saying that it's been too high. All right, that's an easy win. The badge is an easy win. Getting Umbro back is an easy win. Getting the tickets prices down is an easy win. I've heard all this now. I want to see more. I want to see meat, not the bones now, if that makes sense. I want to know what you're thinking about. Get in the comments. Tell me what you're thinking. This is what this is, because this is what SWFC 001 has dubbed Fudge Fest 2, the Electric Boogaloo. Actually, no, it's going to be Owls in the Yard, Electric Boogaloo. Big fan of that. And then Craig Hayward said 100% correct and great stuff. Dan, here I am here. Tom Burton's obviously very excited about Owls in the Yard. He's probably going to have to start shopping now because that was absolutely nuts for him, and he's turned him. Made him a bit of celebrity, haven't we, on the Wednesday week? And Stu Williams says that Bruce Low-key confirmed Umbro as well, to a smattering of murmuring around the room. I should reach out to somebody at the night, shouldn't I, and just sort of say, do you want to come on and tell me all about it? What do you reckon? We also had Tom Costin with a recorded message. He said from the moment we joined, we immediately felt welcome. This means so much. I truly believe there is enormous potential we can build. I need to understand not only about Wednesday, but the city of Sheffield, which again, all sounds lovely, but let's see some meat on the bones. Yes, we know we're nice. Yes, we know we're a lovely working class town, but let's see some more, shall we? I got Ben saying thoughts on the baseball talk. baseball is truly one of the most boring sports I've ever witnessed. The fact that that one of their national sports is rounders is hilarious to me. Who wants that? Who wants that? And then, yes, David Storch joined us on the evening as well, saying we came away from the Norwich game just blown away by the support, community and spirit. There have been a lot of moments, occasions since the 5th of November, and we find ourselves today, the owners of the club. And then the Wi-Fi broke in some hilarious comic timing. And then he said, this is your club, and for us to come in and dictate how it should be is just now how we are going to function. So it sounds like there is a lot of work going on in the background, but I want to hear what you guys have got to say. Sharman says there, the chat about the training ground and medical was really positive. I agree. I should have got Chef Cam for this. This is his knitting, isn't it? He's the a comment reading guy. And then Sharman said, announced Vardy already. No word on Jamie Vardy just yet. But my favourite thing, it was only a story broken by Joe Cran that a lot of people picked up on. But I can't understand why, if he's going to drop down to League One, why would he come to us and not to Leicester City? I find that a bit odd. And Sharman also says that they made rounders boring. But also, if anybody does need Tom, I want you to go and see Calling Mr. Meadows on Instagram. It's worth taking a look. And I think he did a video with a little old school telly on it that is definitely worth watching. And obviously, yes. That's why he left Leicester, isn't it? Because Ben says he doesn't like Leicester CO or something, because the guy they call him Top, and he's Savara Para's son, who took over after obviously the helicopter crash was absolutely incredible, and it's the son of Vichy Savara Para, and I think he's running that club into the floor. Who'd have thought it? Thai ownership, Milan Mandaric involvement, and all of a sudden the club's gone to shit. I'm absolutely shooketh by it all. Anybody would think I did my own work on it. And then if anybody does need Tom, he's in the he'll be prepping for owls in the yard. And then Izzy said, why was his wife in the back seat like a hostage? I don't know. It was weird, wasn't it? She's probably sat there thinking, I didn't know. I thought this would just be a quick one. What's happening? Why am I here? Who are these people, and why are they in my car? And I tell you what, Stu, I agree with you, because this is the garment of the summer. I've been talking about it for a year now. When Tom gets a drill top in my size, bank account's fucked. I agree, Tom. I think I might have found a supplier in one of the countries where suppliers can be found. I don't know if we're going to get it ready. Stay tuned, by the way, because we are going to go and see Tom next week to get a little peek behind the curtain at what happens at Calling Mr. Meadows Studios. And then John writes, Storch even had time for carpool karaoke. And you know what? I enjoyed it a lot more because it had no James Corden. I popped a tweet out the other day sort of saying, what's your Mount Rushmore of most disliked celebrities, and mine's Paddy McGuinness, who is a professional northerner, James Corden, who is a stage school toff pretending to be a lad. The other one is who's the posh lad, the tall posh comedian fella. What's his name? I've forgotten his name. Don't like him because his entire shtick is going, oh, look how posh I am, but there's working class people here. Oh, grumble, grumble, grumble. Just like on Gavin and Stacey, where the joke is, hey, have you heard how daft this lot sound? That's pretty much the entire joke of the show. Can't abide it. And then my least disliked celebrity is Ollie Murs, because he only does music that you would only see outside of a Lorraine Kelly fashion segment. So Stu says his wife only thought they were nipping to Target. Brilliant. He's probably now getting it in the neck from Mrs. Storchy Howell. Holly is very excited about Owls in the Yard. And when I say to you, she's been pissing me off about it since February, telling me, let's do Owls in the Yard, let's do Owls in the Yard, let's do Owls in the Yard. Only because they serve hooch is probably why that's probably happening. Stu Burgess says, would people like 80s Umbro blue shorts or 90s Umbro black shorts? For me, black shorts. Thanks for the coverage. I tell you what, Stu, actually, if you keep an eye on our Instagram, Holly is running a poll right now of what you're looking for in a kit, and I believe we've got we've got kit manufacturers, we've got crests, we've got shorts. It's all coming up. It's all coming up. Keep an eye on that, and then we'll get the definitive answer on what people want out there. Holly wants another sequin jacket. I'll see if I can dig out pink this year, because I want a white one like Pitbull, so we can dance to Fireball. Jack Whitehall was who I was trying to think of earlier on. We've all said this. Work call will only take a moment. Black shorts all day. Jack Whitehall, and Michael McIntyre. Michael McIntyre. It's like when he speaks, I feel like he's just really happy. He's still got hair for a man of his age, because he does like a wobble to try and flick it. Just kind of go, look at me with my wobbly hair. So right. I'm going to stay here for about another 5 minutes, and I'm going to talk to you folks. I want to hear some more comments. Don't forget the poll is still running whether we should have trust members on the board. A lot of people in favour of it, more than I anticipated. If I'm honest, I genuinely thought a lot of you were like, "No, we don't need more middle-aged men on the board," but it turns out we do, because you're all middle-aged men, all your mates. I'm joking. And then Izzy says you'll have to come and join us in Plymouth, Sharma. Yeah, that's down your yard, isn't it? Did anyone ask if we'll get kicked out if we wear DHgate? Do you know what? I don't know. We should have asked that, but it's all right. So a lady stood up and asked what was going to happen with her specific season ticket. So fucking hell. You know what? I was champing at Steve earlier on when because poor Ash has stood there with his phone up because we had some tech issues tonight, and I wanted to get off to try and get to this bit, to try and do some talking. And I always hate it when you get to the end of a work call, or you get to the end of a presentation, and it's and another thing, and everybody's already checked out, and everything's done. But there's always some bloke who stands up and goes, "Here is this one thing that directly affects me," which you could quite literally take offline. You know what I mean? It could have been an email. But no, she stood up and gone, "What about this ticket that I've bought? I'm going to ask that. I'm going to use this public forum to ask." Thanks for that. Great one. And then HP is happy with his coaches. I'd like to see if that was reciprocated the other way round, if the coaches were happy with Henrik Pedersen, but we'll find out later on. And then John Russell says we're going to get a sponsorship deal with Nike. Flash coming back to promote his American contacts. Air Gordon. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine? Right, I'm going to knock that on the head. That's been us. I really appreciate you joining us this evening. It's been a pleasure. Thanks a lot to Ash and Stevie who were there this evening, and thanks to everybody that obviously put on a great event. And thanks to you lot that have stayed with us tonight, and thanks for the bants and the comments. It's been a great time. I've really enjoyed myself tonight. And stay tuned on the socials, because we're trying to guess what kit we're going to get, and stay tuned. But while I have to work in the background on announcing an event now in Kelham Island, so we'll see how that goes, and then we'll see you at Owls in the Yard if I don't see you before. See you later.